to him. You could be a Bradley's baddie too. You could be a Bradley's baddie too. So join Jovan and get your critical cap on. There's a Bradley's baddie inside of me and you.
Sure. Hello. What up? What's good? Did this just start? Yeah. What's up, y'all? How y'all been? It's been a couple days. 4 to be precise, but I'm here and chilling. Watch your Euro video 10 out of 10. No, deadass. If you haven't seen the Euro and travel rebuttal, go check it out. I doubt I'll make another one if he decides to respond to the response. Huh. Is it just me or is my frame rate weird? It could be. Could just be me. I can't tell. But yeah. Y'all should watch it. Make sure you leave a comment with more than 8 words. Yeah, but I'm always at like 24 frames per second, so that's not new. Let me just see if, let me see something. Give me a second. What if I... How's that? Does that look better? I changed it to like... Most cameras don't do 30. They go from like 25 or 24 to 60. $30 isn't like an FPS the cameras set themselves at. I actually am not a big fan of like higher frame rates than that because that's about what your eyes see. Your eyes see about that much. Anyway, we're debating. 219-327-8005 if you disagree with any of the topics on the board. You know the drill. We'll see if we get any debates today. We got pillow screening. So W's to pillow for screening. By the way, remember to tip the stream if you want to support it, especially because now we're gonna part of those tips you guys send. Part of the tips you send will go to paying the screeners. So if you guys want to make sure screeners get their dues, Cash App and Venmo are in bio. Which God is not evil? Good question. Probably none of them. Did I watch Jimmy's video? I didn't need to watch Jimmy's video because he called me when this shit happened. So I didn't have to watch his video. It's just me or Javon's lighting slightly off. Could be. I was messing around with stuff. I can actually... How's it look if I click it down a little bit? So it's not as bright. This is more like my norm. Could be. William, thank you for the Venmo. Thank you, friend. Do I have to disagree? You can call in if you have like a question or something, but like most likely... I'm most trying to get disagreements, you know? So if you call with like an office hours style question, there's no guarantee you're going to get through. Remember to like the live if you are interested in getting some debates to happen. What happened with Forrest taking over for Jimmy and Javon? Don't ask me. I told Jimmy I wouldn't be there like a week ago. No hetero is crazy. YouTube is delayed way more than Twitch. Yeah. Yeah. Truly. What happened with Jimmy? Jimmy's just been really busy, so he's taking a lot more time off. Nah, I don't stream on TikTok anymore. I'm tired of censoring myself for goddamn TikTok. I gotta figure out the day that I'm gonna do the what games am I playing? There's this one that's like a Parisian cafe simulator. I'm playing the shit out of that. That's about it. I haven't really been playing much right now. I am gonna do a full like fucking Garden of Banban stream where I play all those fucking pieces of shit. So that should be fun. Glad you post YouTube vids. I actually stood up to my dad being transphobic and he only find words so I could tell him how he's being transphobic. E. W. Oh, that's right. We got a winner for the Switch 2. Let me tell you guys who it was. And they did respond. They are getting their Switch 2. The winner was Tyrone Hutton. Tyrone Hutton was our winner. I don't know if Tyrone is in the chat right now and wants to be like, yeah, it was me, I won. But they won. So yeah. And they did claim their prize, so they will be getting their Switch 2 by the end of the month. So W to those people. All right. Let's get this shit started. We got a call already. All right. Coming up to the stream is Scott. Scott is calling about topic number 2, trans men and women being men and women. Scott, if you can hear me, please provide me with your age and pronouns.
He, him, and 28.
Great. Him, 28. And like I said, you're calling Scott to talk about trans men and women being men and women. Great. So Scott, I believe trans men and women are men and women because I don't believe there is a single biological trait that can cleanly map onto the genders. So therefore the trait must be more a what's the word I'm looking for? More like psychological or sociological. Do you disagree? And if so, why?
Well, I called in to talk about more, but that's, just the order in which. But yeah, I do disagree. Men are free to act as feminine as they like, and women are free to act as masculine as they like. That doesn't mean that they're men. Femininity and masculinity changes with culture, with time. The men then versus men now. It's not really the same. But if you or I were transgender, and whenever we die, we're going to leave behind our skeleton over, however long, of course, that takes. When we get found, our bone structure is going to show what we really are, regardless of, the childhood trauma I had made me feel like a female, or vice versa. That's not going to matter.
They're
going
to
say,
feel like
this
Scott.
is a 40-year-old male. This is a 40-year-old female.
Scott, just so you know, I feel like you're not responding to the reason why I believe trans men and women are men and women. I feel like you're just on like a talking point.
What you believe, that's the truth.
Well, are you debating me or not?
That's fine.
Are you debating me or not, Scott?
Oh yeah, I'm debating you. I don't care about your feelings. Neither do your listeners. I'm telling you what is true. And the truth is, your DNA will not change. Your bone structure will not change. Nothing will change. Whatever your feelings are.
All right, we have to mute Scott already. Scott, that's embarrassing. It's been 2 minutes and I already have to mute you. That's embarrassing, truly. God damn. House training, Scott, please. So hopefully, well, Scott, I know you can hear me right now. You're muted. In a debate, you have to dismantle a person's argument. I gave an argument, and you've yet to actually talk about it. If you just want a place to speak, go create your own platform and speak there. If you'd like to debate, that's what this platform is for. So, Scott, I'm going to unmute you. You're going to hear a beep. That's the unmute beep. And I want you to respond to the actual point I made, Scott, unless you're scared. There's the beep. You're now unmuted. Again. Oh, because you weren't listening?
Can I rehear your point again?
Sure. I guess if you weren't listening, I'll restate it. Trans men and women would be men and women because there is no biological trait that cleanly maps the sexes to gender that would include all people that should be in the category and exclude all people that shouldn't. Therefore, gender, because it's not some sexually biological trait, would instead be an internal trait that's more psychological or sociological.
So you're saying bone structure is not a biological trait that would point to whether somebody was male or female. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying there is no biological trait. Scott, do you not understand?
Yes, they are.
Scott, is it that you don't understand my position? Would you like me to explain it like you're a 5-year-old?
I understand it. I understand.
I
You
don't
said
think
a
you do.
biological trait. Is your skeleton a biological trait? Yes or no? Is it not?
Yes. What are you talking about? I said there's
Okay.
no
But your
Scott.
bones
Scott, I need you to listen.
specifically
Scott, I
tell
need you to
you
listen.
male or female.
Scott, I need you to listen because you're
I'm
embarrassing
listening.
yourself.
I'm listening.
And I'm trying to give you an out to not embarrass yourself, but you keep wanting to do it, I guess. I
Am I
said there
wrong?
is no, you're wrong when it comes to my position. Yes. I said there
But I'm
is,
not wrong in my
you're
point.
wrong. Yes, you were wrong when it comes to my position. You're supposed to be attacking my position. Right now, you're just embarrassing yourself. And I want to give you the out to not do it, but you seem really hell bent on doing it. So I need you to listen. Don't listen to respond. Listen to actually hear what's being said. And when
I'm
it
listening.
comes to categorization, there is no trait tied to human sexual reproduction that cleanly maps on and allows everyone into the category of woman that should be and excludes everybody that shouldn't be. Because no trait does this cleanly biologically, the trait must be either psychological or sociological. Do you understand what I said?
When you say cleanly, what percentage of people would you say cleanly? Because you could say, oh, this is true for 95%. Whenever I say bone structure, okay, that could be true for 98%. I don't know what the true number is. Would you say that cleanly or does not cleanly? Does cleanly have to be 100% for you to
In
believe it?
categorization, necessary conditions must have 100% accuracy. Hence why a square must have 4 sides. It must have 2 perpendicular sets of lines, and it must have 4 right angles. If it does not have any of those, it's not a square because those are what are necessary to be a square. So if a trait is necessary to be a woman or necessary to be a man, there can be 0 exceptions. And there are no traits biologically in humans that have no exceptions.
Okay, so your chromosomes are not a biological trait. Is that what you're saying?
Nope, it's not what I'm saying at all. It's
But
not
are
even
they? So
remotely.
they are a
It's not
biological
even.
trait.
It's not even remotely close to what I'm saying.
But are they a biological trait then?
Yep.
Okay, then why do males and females always 100% of the time, just like your square, have different chromosomes?
Well,
That is 100%
everybody
of the
has
time.
different chromosomes, but
So using your
no.
logic,
So
well,
Scott, you would
yes,
be
you're right.
wrong.
Everybody has different chromosomes.
Scott, you would be wrong. There are women who are
I'm
born with
not.
XY chromosomes. You would know this if you studied
Okay,
biology, but I
what
know you
percentage?
haven't.
What percentage of those
Does
people?
again,
What
Scott?
percentage of those people?
Scott, I will again remind you to what I said 45 seconds ago, that necessary conditions must have 100% accuracy. There can be no exceptions in a necessary. One exception breaks the
You're
rule.
making that up. You're making up
I'm
that
not.
rule.
Scott, is there
You are
any
making up that
square?
rule.
Scott, is there any square on the planet that doesn't have 4 sides?
Do you know how many variables there are to drawing a
Scott,
square
is there
versus making
any
a human?
Scott, is there any square on the planet that doesn't have 4 sides? I know you want to avoid these questions, but just answer them. Why
No, there's not.
dodge? Why do you think that
There's
is,
not, but
Scott?
you're a
Why do you
little
think
bit
that is,
more
Scott?
intricate than a square.
That if we're more intricate than a square,
Because it's a
Scott, why do you
square.
think you can categorize us by one specific trait? I thought we were more intricate than a square.
I'm not.
You are. You're
I'm
saying the
absolutely
trait
not, but
would
if you
be
have brown hair,
chromosomes.
you have brown hair.
You're saying the trait would be
If you have brown
chromosomes.
hair, you
That
have brown hair. If
chromosomes
you're
are.
white, you're
You're
white.
Scott.
There's more variables.
Scott. I don't know if it's just like, if it's just impossible for you to debate past a 3rd grade level. It seems like it might be. There are, when it comes to
What have I said that was not
categorization,
true?
when almost everything that you've said, when it comes to
Like what?
categorization,
No, name one thing though. Name one thing.
the fact
Name
that
one thing.
the fact that chromosomes are always one way or another when it comes to males and females. That's
Did
an
I say
incorrect.
that, or did you
Yes,
say I
you
said
did.
that?
Yes, you did. Do I have to replay
Okay,
the tape?
and what percentage of males?
Do I have to replay the tape? No. Do I have to replay the tape? Do I have to replay the tape of you saying it? Because I will.
But what did you say?
I will replay the tape.
You say?
I will replay the tape.
Okay. You say it over and over. I hear you the first time. It doesn't.
Yeah, because
make it any more clear. You keep saying it.
Well, apparently I need to make it more clear because you don't understand these things. If you're going to create a category that is exclusionary, that category must have a necessary condition that excludes people from the category. Necessary conditions can have no exceptions. That's why they're called necessary conditions. They're not called typical conditions. They're not called average conditions. They're not called sometimes conditions. They're called necessary, meaning they are required to exist. So if anything does not have that condition, but you allow it into the category, then that condition was never necessary. It's pretty simple.
Okay. Can I bring up two numbers really quickly?
If they're relevant.
Okay. It's about transgenders. So the population of transgenders in America ranges
Is not
about
relevant.
1% to 1.5%. How's
Is
that not relevant?
is not relevant to the conversation.
What if I can make it relevant by my second number?
I promise you won't be able to.
Okay. Well, you haven't heard it, so that's impossible for you to know that.
Go ahead and try.
That's actually impossible for you to know that.
Go ahead and try. I promise it's not going to be relevant.
About 1% to 1.6% of people identify as transgender, but only 0.2% of those people are male or female born with the opposite chromosome. So what about all those other people?
Again, I knew it. I knew your second number wasn't going to make it relevant. That is still irrelevant to the conversation about whether someone is man or woman.
And chromosomes. How is it not relevant?
Scott, the fact that you don't know how that's not relevant is so literally unimaginable that you don't get how that is not relevant.
Read your comments. I'm not even on your stream.
I don't need to read your comments.
People are agreeing with me. I bet you money.
I promise you they're not. Do I need to start a poll?
That is relevant.
I promise you they're not. First of all, that's a fallacy. It's a fallacy. It's an argument ad populum. I don't care if people agree with you. That doesn't make you correct. People agree that the earth was flat. Doesn't mean it is.
It's a debate. Okay? It's not about being right or wrong. It's about convincing people. I thought I didn't know what a debate was. I didn't know. It's about convincing people, not about being right or wrong.
No, debates are about relevantly showing whether the other side is logical or not. And you've shown you're not.
And that's what I'm doing. That's not about being right or wrong.
It's not what you're doing.
You just prove me right.
It's not what you're doing at all. Logical. Well, I'm glad you admit you're wrong then, Scott.
You can be wrong and still be logical.
I'm glad you can admit that you're wrong. I'm glad you've admitted that you're wrong.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you don't have to be wrong.
I'm glad we admitted. I'm glad we can understand today that you are wrong.
All you have to do is convince the people.
And you didn't even do that because they're all disagreeing with you.
People? Okay,
they're all disagreeing with you.
I just want to ask you genuinely.
No, Scott, if the winner of the debate is who's agreed with you, if the winner of the debate is who's agreed with, you've lost because nobody agrees with you.
Okay, I don't believe you, but what about
Scott,
all those other people?
Hold on, let's do the poll. Let's do a poll right now, guys.
Opposite chromosomes.
Hold on, we're gonna do a poll. Hold on, we're gonna do a poll.
What about all those other people?
No, Scott, I'm gonna put you on mute. We're gonna do a poll. You don't believe me? You don't believe me? We're gonna put you on mute. We're gonna do a poll. We're gonna do a poll. You want to play this game, Scott? We'll play this game. You think I give a fuck? Why is my poll thing not working? Pillow run a. Oh well, Pillow might not be able to run a poll. Let me pull it up. Here it is. Poll. Is Scott winning? Yes or no? Go ahead, chat. Let's see. There's the poll on YouTube. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, Scott. 96% say no. Wow, Scott. 93%, 96%, 94%. Doesn't look too good for you, Scott. Glad we proved you're an idiot. Great. Now, Scott, now that we've wasted time proving that the chat doesn't agree with you and instead they agree with me, which you, like you said, means I won the debate. Again, you're talking about something that's irrelevant. What's relevant to the conversation is if you can name a necessary condition that all women possess and that 0 non-women possess. You would have to name that condition. You haven't been able to do that yet.
Okay, so then by your logic, the true could be said about race and age.
The true could be said about race and age. If you're making a necessary condition on race, then yes, you'd have to prove a necessary condition. Like, yeah.
So everybody who's white could say they're black.
Scott, how do you not understand this conversation, bro?
You're
going from one. No, you're not. It's not my logic, Scott. That's not my logic, Scott. Scott, I need you to hear me because it's like so stupid. When we talk about necessary conditions, Scott, Scott, I'm going to just mute you again if you're unable to engage in a conversation. You will be muted. Okay, you're muted again. What do you think this is? If this is an attempt at rage baiting, it's not going to work. You're not going to get under my skin. I don't care. You're just proving you're stupid. So, he hung up. Great, beautiful. What the fuck, dude? Can I say I'm 6? You're sure acting like a 6-year-old. 6-year-olds have better fucking house training than Scott does. Jesus Christ. My God, bro. Imagine being unable to just engage. One of the things that they tend to do, and I don't know that even Scott realizes that he's doing it, is they argue with me arguing against their point like I'm arguing for my point, right? So my position is that their creation of the exclusionary category falls apart. So they go, well, can I do that with race? Sure, if you're making the claim that race is an exclusionary category, you'd have to name the necessary condition. I have a feeling he's not going to like any of this shit. The necessary condition to be 6 is to have lived 6 years. 100%. I would agree. Perfect necessary condition for being 6. Well, actually, I would say the necessary condition to be 6 is to be born and and to have lived through 6 full rotations around the sun. Because if you're just going to live to the age of 6, to like have lived 6 years, somebody could break that with like, oh, what if I had a fertilized egg and I froze it for 6 years, you know? But imagine going, oh, well, your comments definitely agree with me. Homie, you haven't made a logical fucking point. Just incapable of using logic. All right, let's see. Ow. Why did I do that? Ow. Now I'm bleeding. All right, let's bring up the next person. All right, coming up next onto the stream is Patrick. Patrick is calling about topic number 2, trans men and women being men and women. Patrick, if you can hear me, please provide me with your age and pronouns.
Hey, man, my name is Patrick.
And your age
I'm 35.
and your pronouns.
I would rather not, if that's okay.
It's not. It's a rule of the show.
Well, my name's Patrick, so you could assume my pronoun. I won't be offended.
I don't assume. What are your pronouns? Patrick, I'm gonna cut you off here. I'm just gonna explain something to you.
Yeah. Have a good day, brother.
Yeah, you're just running away. Okay. Instantly, like they can't like. I have to say pronouns. I can't do it. Oh God. See ya, Patrick. What I was going to explain is if you can't engage with the second question I ask you in good faith, then there's quite literally no reason to continue the conversation. Like, there's no point. There's like quite literally no point in continuing the conversation of that. You've proven that you can't engage honestly. I have to reword this in my notes. Emily. trying to get because I'm trying to have the same opening line for each thing. So this is what I wrote down for topic two. Topic two. Said, I believe trans men and women are men and women because there's no one biological trait that is necessary to be a man or woman that has zero exceptions. Therefore, man and women must be social or psychological categories, not biological ones. You know what? Let me change that to there's not one biological trait that is necessary for gender that is zero exceptions. Therefore, gender categories. There, I like that better. Must be social or psychological categories, not biological ones. Yeah, I like that better. That to me is a better thing. Let me quickly read through the super chats. The Beefy Boy said W Pillow, we agree. I Love Thorium said, please get rid of this man, I beg of you. He got rid of himself, thankfully. May Meow Meow said, I love what you do for the community. Hey, bless up. I Love Thorium also said, Scott, please disconnect your line, bro. He did. He must have listened to you. I Love Thorium also said, you are so patient. I would have hung up like 1 minute into talking to him. I wouldn't be able to have a job if I did that. And Dan R. Beam said, imagine being crushed by such a simple question. Tends to happen. Transphobes tend to not be able to answer questions directly. What are your pronouns? No, this is Patrick. It's so funny. For all the calls you get, prove MAGA is uneducated. Yeah, 100% of the time. God, talk to an educated MAGA? Ugh, God damn. Could you imagine? Tuesday, me and Jimmy have another debate. I'll wait until Jimmy announces who it's with. But Tuesday, we have another 2v2. Cooper, thank you for the Venmo. Said, thank you for all you do. You're part of the reason I accepted I am trans. Today is day 1 of HRT. If your Venmo name is your dead name, I apologize. So my bad, G. I hope it was not. But if it was, I apologize. I guess I can't chat anymore, bro, while sending a chat is crazy. All right, we got an office hours call, so let's take that real quick. All right, we got Kyle from Texas. Kyle, what are your pronouns, bud?
He and him.
All right,
Hi,
cool.
Javon.
What's up, Kyle?
Okay, so my topic is number 6. So I was watching like old Charlie Kirk videos because I work with a lot of conservatives, and I want to know, how do you deal with, how do you deal with the idea of systemic racism when they ask you how it affects you personally? Because my idea of systemic racism is just a broad system that disenfranchises groups of people based off race. So
I don't answer I don't answer that question. If they ask me personally, I don't answer that question. I think it's a bad faith question. It doesn't matter. Like I could have lived a life in which I experienced no like on its face systemic racism like directly to me. I could have lived a life in which I experienced like the most racism of all time. It wouldn't change the fact. So when I talk about systemic racism, I talk about how it is about the disproportionate outcomes that the systems create between the racial groups. It's not about one person's individual experience.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. All right. That makes sense. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it.
All right. No problem.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. My whole world's upside upside down. All right, let's wait for some more calls. I also have the debate timer pulled up. So if somebody calls in and they're like, "Oh, I want to make sure we both get the same amount of time to talk," I can use the debate timer at any point. You know? Super easy. Okay. No caller. Coming up next is Brian. Brian's also calling to talk about topic number 2, trans men and women being men and women. Brian, if you can hear me, please provide me with your age and pronouns.
I'm 39, and that should be obvious. We're
It's
living
not.
in a society here. Get with it.
Okay, Joker, what are your pronouns?
You know exactly what they are, buddy. Don't be
Brian.
a joker.
Brian, you're the one who
Bad
said we
faith.
live in a... You're the one who said we... No, it's bad faith to ignore the questions that are rules to get on the stream, Brian. So I'll ask you again,
No, I answered
what are your pronouns?
I answered your question. You didn't like
No,
the
you didn't.
answer.
No, you didn't.
I said you know what the answer is, and you do.
If
know
I
what the
told
answer
somebody,
is,
if I
and you're
told
being
somebody,
disingenuous.
if I said to somebody, "What do you want to eat for dinner?" and they were like, "You know what I want," that's not an answer to that question. So Brian, you have one more chance to answer the question.
You're so,
What are
you're
your
so
pronouns?
dishonest. You're so
Says the
fundamentally
person who
dishonest,
refuses
and it's
to
sad.
answer a very simple question, Brian. You have
And here's
one.
the
You have
thing.
Brian.
You know what
Brian,
the
you have 5
answer is.
seconds to answer. 4,
You
3,
absolutely know what
2,
the answer is. Bye bye,
1.
fucking
See ya.
loser.
At least I can answer questions, Brian. Sucks to suck. Crash out harder, ugly. Fuck do you think this is, bro? Not like it's a rule on the show or anything. How's the volume between me and callers today, everybody? Homie said we live in a society. No shit. The sky is blue. Hey, if you guys are like Javon, you've been dealing with so many fucking idiots today, cash them a memo or in bio. Tips are always appreciated, never required. Do I like this? I believe trans men and women are men and women because there is no one biological trait that is necessary for gender that has 0 exceptions. Therefore, gender categories must be social or psychological categories, not biological ones. I feel like it's a lot, and I might want to reword it. Callers are a little quiet. I can lower myself. I would have to lower myself because of the new update with Call in Studio. I can't like boost it the way I used to. Well, let me see. Is there a way to? When Google Chrome opens like a little tab that's not a full one, is there a way to get your... Never mind. I don't know what I'm saying. Let me see if I can boost it. I just need like an audio booster effect. We'll try something. My mic is too low now? Oh, for real? I don't feel like I'm too low. I feel like I'm just right. Do you guys feel like I'm too low? No. I have Chrome maxed the fuck out. It sounds better. Yeah, I messed with something. There was a setting that was on that I messed with. All right, let's bring up the next person. Next up is Solace. Solace is calling from Utah, looking for advice on how to deal with MAGA parents. Hey, Solace, what's your pronouns, please?
My pronouns are she, her.
Wonderful. Solace. Yeah. What what was your question specifically?
I guess I'm just wondering how would I deal with parents who are like very transphobic, but they're trying to come to terms with it recently. But and they can't really move past that barrier.
Sorry, you broke up a little bit there, Solace. Can you just repeat that for me?
If there's good evidence, if there's anything like that, I can try and run past them.
Solace, you broke up a little bit there for me. Can you just repeat that?
What's the last thing you heard me say?
I'm gonna be honest, it mostly broke up. I heard that your parents were extremely transphobic. That's about it.
Hello, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me, Solace?
Yes, now I can. Sorry.
Okay, cool. The last thing I heard was that your parents were extremely transphobic. That's all I really got.
Yes. So they are trying to come to terms with it recently. But there's this barrier that I can't seem to get past them. That there's nothing I can do to change who I am. But they're trying to come to terms with it and be more accepting in general. I'm just wondering if there is any good sources for me to give to them, and what you think I should do to try and break said barrier, because you work with you debate a lot of people, and sometimes you can seem to get past that barrier.
Mm-hmm. I mean, would they be willing to call me? I could always talk to them.
I'm not sure if they would, honestly. They seem to think that if I'm like associated with the left in general, they're going to brainwash me. So I'm not sure if that's a good idea if I introduce them to someone I've been listening to for a while.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. This is a tough question because breaking through that barrier is hard. Especially because I don't know enough about your parents to know what their objections truly are.
Yeah.
I mean, the best thing to do would probably try to relate them to what you're experiencing. But for that
Okay.
would be a call for that would be like you would want to call TACUS. You know what TACUS is?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. I would call TACUS with this because I think I might be wrong in this, but maybe relating to the fact that they're your parents and like, hey, I'm miserable. I'm trying to live my life in a way that makes me happy. Either support that or get off the train, right? That would be my way of tackling the situation, but
Yeah, one thing that I can't seem to get past them is they'll bring up statistics and such without evidence. And then the moment I bring up any sort of study or anything like that, they ask me who funded it and tell me that they're biased and this and that. And
yeah,
that's the biggest holdup I've seen to find.
People who just hear, oh, well, this study was funded by blank, so it must be faulty. And so they instantly discredit it. Like, they're not looking to get any truth claims out of the stuff you're showing them, right?
Yeah.
Like, there are studies that I use regularly that are from the Heritage Foundation, right? The Heritage Foundation is like ultra right leaning, but the study, I guess it's not as much a study as it is like an analysis, but the analysis has good methodology. It's not flawed. It is a solid database, even if it's from a right leaning source, right? So like, if they're just like, what you should do? You know what you should do? If they tell you, I would ask one of three questions when it comes to somebody arguing about a study. Who wrote it? I don't give a shit about, right? Unless it's somebody that's already been severely discredited in the industry. But I would ask very specifically, I would ask, what are your issues with the methodology and what are your issues with the limitations of the study? Because if they can't answer
Okay.
those two, then it's not about what they've read. It's not about that. They're just not even opening it up. I don't think most people know what good methodology is, so they probably won't be able to tell you. And in which case, I would just be like, all right, so you're refusing
You're shutting it
to
down.
educate yourself. Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I also was the one with the Venmo request. That is my dead name, but I don't have a new name.
Heard,
So
Solace.
don't worry
Heard.
about it.
Apologies for dead naming, though, still.
No worries at all.
All right, well,
Thanks for taking my call.
No problem, Solace. You have a good rest of your day. All right. We had another Venmo. That was from Amanda. Said, love you too, Amanda. Thank you so much for the Venmo. Let's bring up the next person, shall we? Coming up next is Justin. Justin is calling from, I don't know what MI is. Is that Michigan, Minnesota? I don't know. Justin, calling to talk about MAGA being uneducated. Justin, what is your age and pronouns, please?
27 and he, him.
Great. Thank you, Justin. And just a preliminary question before we begin, Justin. Are you MAGA?
I disagree with some things, but I strongly agree with the way Trump has handled policing in the United States.
All right, cool. That's fine. Well, Justin, I believe that everybody who is a member of MAGA, or honestly anybody still currently supporting Donald Trump, is either uneducated, or if they are educated, I do believe that they are just bad people. Do you disagree? And if so, why?
Well, I feel like that's subjective, and you could say that about anything.
Could you? Like what?
Yeah, I mean, I could say that people are stupid because they don't like peanut butter jelly sandwiches, and that anybody who doesn't like one is a bad person. That's just my opinion, right?
Sure. Can you back that opinion up with anything?
So then that's just your opinion.
Can you back that opinion up with anything?
That it's an opinion. What do you need to back an opinion of? You can have an opinion just because you
Opinion-
feel a certain way.
Yeah, opinions.
If you look in the notes,
opinions can be well informed. Justin, just really quickly, opinions can be well informed or they cannot be well informed. A well informed opinion, I'm more likely to listen to. A non informed opinion, I'm not. So, is your opinion on peanut butter well informed?
Yeah, my opinion on Trump being strong with police is pretty well informed, considering his executive order for police.
Considering his executive order for police. Sure. Which executive
Yep.
order specifically? It's not really about the topic, but that's fine.
Well, if you look in the notes, that's specifically what I wanted to talk about. Strengthening and unleashing America's law enforcement to pursue criminals and protect innocent civilians. That's the name of the order. It was signed on April 28, 25.
And what did it do?
Strengthened and gave more support to law enforcement. So if you read through it,
Okay, I know that was the title. Can you give me the actual things that it implemented?
Yeah, if you would have let me finish talking instead of interrupting me, I would have got to that part. But
Justin, please pull the panties out of your asshole, because you're Aggie for no reason.
They're not in there. They're not in there. I'm willing to be respectful.
Oh, they're not? Where are they?
You can me, right?
If they're not in your asshole, where are they?
I don't understand where all the people who do these talking shows get off on doing this. If you would like to have a debate, I'm more than welcome to do that with you. What I'm not going to do
you
is
got Aggie for no reason, Justin.
I did not. You interrupted me in the middle of talking.
I mean, I can replay the tape. You definitely got Aggie.
So do you just want to pull it up and read it for yourself?
Well, I'm asking if you understand.
You're uninformed on this.
I'm asking if you understand what the executive order did and how it specifically did what you're claiming it did, which is strengthen and unleash America's law enforcement.
Provide us with resources within 90 days, right? So if they get extra armored vehicles, if they get anything and they say, hey, we're giving these to law enforcement, they have 90 days to do it. There's not some unlimited window, right? On top of that, if somebody were to sue a law enforcement officer, there are now additional protections to prevent them from having any type of monetary suffrage or anything like that. This executive order is great. And I understand Democrats, you guys obviously don't like police, and guns are very, very scary. But when you call 911, I'm sure you would like someone to show up, correct?
Well, that's irrelevant to the conversation that we're currently having. So I like to stay in
Oh,
relevancy.
right. So when
just really
read the note,
quickly,
right?
just really quickly, you said that this would help with like lawsuits. Where specifically in the executive order does it mention that?
Legal defense of law enforcement officers, Section 2. If you read it, you would know about that.
Great. Well, that's I
Right.
was asking you,
Right.
Justin. Relax, Mr. Aggie.
Like I said, you are the one who is uninformed on this topic, not me.
I'm the one who's uninformed on this topic.
Yes,
You sure about
I
that?
clearly so.
You sure?
Sure.
Are you positive?
I'm 100% positive.
What does it mean
I'm the
when
one who
what
knew
is what is
You
the
didn't even
what
know
does
that
the
executive order existed until I brought it up, right?
I absolutely knew
You
the
didn't even
executive
know
order
about this.
existed. Asking you clarifying questions isn't because I don't know the answer to them, Mr. Aggie.
No, but
Now Justin,
you not know
now
but it
Justin,
would make you uninformed by
now
definition.
Justin, question for you. When Section 2 states about police officers who unjustly incur expenses and liabilities for actions taken during the performance of their duties, what does it mean by that? What specifically does it classify as unjust expenses?
That would be when we would have to pay out of pocket for lawsuits in these
How does it
situations.
classify what is unjust or not?
We should not have to pay out of pocket for that stuff.
You think police shouldn't
Matter
have
of
to
fact,
pay
I
out
don't
of?
believe
You
that
think
any-
police
I don't
shouldn't have
believe
to pay
any
out of
law
pocket?
enforcement officer should be able to be sued for anything they do on duty.
You think
Unless
law
it is like
enforcement officers should not? So when a law enforcement officer violates someone's constitutional rights, they should not be able to. Someone should not be able to open up a constitutional lawsuit against that officer
I said unless it was egregious.
unless it was egregious. Do you want to give a scale for egregiousness or just?
We can go back on the whole subjective argument on that, right? My opinion of egregious might be different than your opinion of egregious,
Sure,
right?
but if you're talking about
your
the
opinion
law,
of egregious might be me calling you
if
a
we're
he, him.
talking about the law, what would be the scale we would use in legal court to understand egregious? So let's say you stop somebody for no cause, so you violate their constitutional right to avoid unreasonable search and seizures. Should they be able to sue you for that?
Well, yeah, sure. That sounds pretty egregious to me.
That sounds egregious. So what are non-egregious lawsuits?
Just your run-of-the-mill lawsuit of where excessive force, stuff like that.
So how is excessive force not egregious?
So, for example, I was given a call at a nursing home not that long ago for an older lady who had been restrained at a hospital. She had some bruising from that, right? After doing the full investigation and reviewing body cam, everything else, it was shown that nothing happened, right? So I don't believe that officer should be able to be sued by her or her family.
Were you sued by her and her family?
No, obviously not. What I said was that officer should not be able to because, like I said, after reviewing body cam footage, CCTV footage, and everything else, we don't see that.
So that wasn't
right?
a case of an officer getting sued. So I'm asking you, what would be a non-egregious
lawsuit? So what I said
lawsuit?
was that would be an example of a situation where I would not want to see an officer
I want to know what lawsuits you've seen or what lawsuits you think have been brought to the table that are non-egregious that go to trial. Because right now you're saying, well, I don't think these things that aren't lawsuits should be lawsuits. Good, they're not right now.
I don't know if this went to a lawsuit, but this would be a good example.
I thought you said it. I thought
there
you
was
said
an officer named
okay,
Christopher
this is something
Stir
different. Got
who
it.
pulled over a man. The man exited his vehicle. They ended up getting into a fight. The man took his taser and he shot him. I don't think the family should be able to sue for that either. And I'm 99% sure that they did. And yeah, that's just when it comes to those kind of incidences where it's been proven the officer has been cleared.
You're talking about the Michigan officer. You're talking about Christopher Shore, the Michigan police officer.
Yeah, I said Christopher Shore. I'm pretty sure I said
the one who killed a man.
I mentioned that. Yeah, I did say he shot him. If you were listening, that's correct. Yeah.
He didn't just shoot him though; he killed him.
Yes, the man took his taser from him. Yep.
So he took his taser. So he took a non-lethal weapon, and then he got shot with a lethal weapon.
So what do you think could happen to an officer that gets tased? If their taser was taken, what do you think can happen?
I don't care about what can happen. I care about what did happen.
Oh, okay. So
What
so
can
just
happen,
because
if we're just going to say officers can shoot you based on
so
what could happen,
sure. So if an
then
officer
I can shoot you for
responded
any
to a
fucking reason
scene
I
with a
want.
guy with a knife,
What are you
just
talking
because
about?
he could stab somebody, we shouldn't do anything?
Yeah, lethal force should not be taken unless lethal force is being used against you, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Are you
Okay.
or did you wake up in Stupid Town today?
You should join a police department, and you should be the one to go to these calls. Then I think you would handle it so much better, obviously, right?
That's such a dumb argument. Oh,
Right.
why don't you go do
Right.
it? It's the dumbest argument I've ever heard. You think lethal force should be
I'm
used
sorry, I'm
on
getting a more
non-lethal
important
on
phone
non-lethal
call,
actors?
unfortunately. So I'm gonna have to let you go.
I'm sure it's your wife. Hey, I just gotta say, if he is a cop, makes total sense why he got so pissed off so instantly. What do we know about cops? They're not really great at regulating their emotions. And then the minute he got cornered, he ran. Hey, so you guys know the Christopher Shore case? You know he shot that dude in the back of the head. I didn't know people were threats when when you're behind them. Yeah, I think if you shoot someone in the back of the head, yeah, you should get sued for that. Yeah. And you saw he tried to like downplay. He tried to downplay. He's like, yeah, and then he got shot, but he didn't mention that he got killed. That's the part he just got shot in the back of the head. What? I feared for my life, and so I shot him in the back of the head. Oh yeah, I would argue that caller absolutely wishes that he could blow somebody's brains out. You heard how aggy he was, bro. I don't think we should have police officers that can't regulate their fucking emotions. You know what I think? I think they should all just be blasted. Hunt and Farm, thank you for the super chat. Said, can exclusionary categories be defined by sufficient conditions instead of necessary? If we're doing sufficient, they wouldn't be exclusionary categories. They would become cluster categories. So it just becomes cluster. Dead Punk said no nouns. No nouns is actually kind of funny. Hunt and Farm said, who knew cops could run that fast? Crazy. He's a runner. He's a track star. Hey, I'll keep it muted, but I'm gonna look at the police footage from this case. I don't want you guys to have to see or hear it. I'm just taking a look. Isn't it so convenient that the body camera footage stops recording? Isn't that just convenient? He's also not grabbing the taser in any threatening way. He grabbed the taser because somebody's trying to tase him and he doesn't want to be tased. He doesn't even have the trigger of the taser. He has the front of it. Yeah, no. Definitely not a lawsuit. We should have let go through. Come on, guys. Ugh. Fucking numbnuts. Probably mad that you didn't rise to his aggression level. He doesn't know how to engage otherwise. It's like, I don't know what to do when this black man's not being aggressive to me. I'm not able to just shoot. We have an office hour call, so we'll do that. All right, coming up next is Owen from Canada. Owen, if you can hear me, please provide me your pronouns.
All right, he, him, maybe they.
Oh, he, him, maybe they. No problem, Owen. I'll give you all three. Owen, calling up with some office hours questions. What do you got for me, bud?
I have three. Is that okay? The first two should be quick, and then the second one's probably more nuanced.
Yeah, sure.
Or the third one. Okay, so the first one, I just wondering why you are atheist instead of agnostic, because from my understanding, the view is that God is just fundamentally unfalsifiable, so there's no reason to believe him. But it's also impossible to prove that he doesn't exist, so agnostic would be the most, I guess, safe view. I don't know if safe's the right word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, because I just think logically it doesn't make sense that there's a creator of the universe.
I understand for like established religions, a lot of them have like contradictions that would make their God impossible, like Christianity. But how do you think that for just like in general?
Sure. In order for a God to exist, they would have had to create the universe and all that the universe is, right?
Yeah.
Which means they would have created both space and time.
Okay.
Which means they would have had to exist outside of space and time. But in order to create the universe, they must do an action. Right?
Right.
You can't do an action without time. It's like physically impossible. Like there needs to be time because the action, there has to be a start and be like there has to be forward movement.
Oh no, I understand the argument.
Yeah. So I don't believe a being like that is physically possible.
Okay, can I pose a little hypothetical?
If you'd like.
If we were able to simulate such that the people inside the simulation were just like us, and from their perspective, the simulation starts, but doesn't really have a before, we would kind of be their God. How do you make sure that that's something that happens?
We have time. Where the claim is that God created time, right? Like time period. You know what I mean? If you're saying if the claim isn't that God created time, the claim is that God existed in a place where time existed, then that means God is not the first creator. Yeah.
Oh, I get it. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if there's already time in God's thing, then I would just say, well, who's that God's God? because clearly that's not the top dog.
Oh,
Could there have been?
shit.
Could like
Okay.
you could say there was an event that created the universe. Like if you go, some people go with the cyclical universe theory. Like, what if a species gets so advanced that they create like some piece of technology that black holes everything back to the singularity, and then poof, Big Bang. But I wouldn't say that was a god, right? So there could be reasons for the universe starting that we don't know. And in fact, I wish I remembered it. Blitz has a book that's called like 23 Ways the Universe Could Have Come into Existence that he actually likes a lot. But yeah, in order for a god, like in my opinion, in order for it to be a being that is a god, it would have had to have created everything the universe is. That's time, that's matter, that's space, that's energy. All has to come from this one thing. I just don't think it logically makes sense to me that would be from like a singular being or anything like that. I more vibe with the fact that like the universe has just probably always existed. It didn't have a beginning. It's just always been.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So your definition of God requires that they have created everything, not just that they have like some higher power over our reality.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That actually makes a lot of sense. Okay. My second question was, you talk a lot about rehabilitative justice, and for the most part, I'm on board. But I struggle with like really bad people, like serial killers or like Hitler, right? If we, in a perfect universe or a perfect world, were able to offer them rehabilitative justice, do you think that the fact that they have the chance of being rehabilitated would not cause suffering to their victims and the families of their victims, such that it wouldn't be worth it to rehabilitate them from like a utilitarian standpoint?
Well, so a few things have to be understood from the rehabilitation model, right? People like Hitler were born in a society that didn't have restorative justice already, right?
Right.
So it could be the case that somebody like that is pretty hard to redeem. Totally could be true. Does that mean we shouldn't try? I would disagree. Does it mean that they now get all of the same benefits they had before? No. Right? Like, personally, in my perfect world, the victims of a crime, whether it be the victim themselves or immediate family members, would need to sign off on whether or not somebody should be allowed back into society. In like the way they were before. But like restorative and rehabilitative justice just mean we're not going to be using punishment as the sole end point of a crime, right? Like,
Right.
punishment doesn't do anything. So yeah, we could take Hitler, we could lock him up, we could throw away the key, but that doesn't get us anywhere. Doesn't do anything, right? It just essentially is, and it's the whole point. I don't like retributive justice. Is it's, well, you hurt us, so we're gonna hurt you, and I just don't think that leads anywhere. I've seen too many revenge stories for me to be like, yeah, that's what we should do. When I think
Okay.
for most people, it's just like, hey, maybe let's look at the conditions that led this person to be like this, and maybe we can fix those.
Right. I'm totally for like preventative measures and stuff. How do you square away people just being like, let's say we have like a rape victim, and you do the rehabilitative thing, and your the people in charge of it have been like, okay, we're gonna put this guy up for I guess trial with the victim or whatever. But despite the guy being fully rehabilitated by any measures we have, the victim just does not want them to be free because of what they did. How do you square that away if you would consider
Yeah, it would
like,
be, it would have to be. I mean, it would have to be talked about in whatever society we're bringing up here, right? Like, personally, I would say that the victims' input, maybe it's not that the victims have a final say, but their input needs to be heavily weighed by
okay,
whatever committee is making this decision, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that like there's no such thing as redemption for anybody, right? Because it's not about redemption. It's not about being redeemed, right? Rehabilitation isn't about redemption. Rehabilitation is about, okay, let's look at the socio and economic conditions that led someone to this place, because humans don't exist in a vacuum, right? It's just not a thing. We know oftentimes rape is perpetrated because of entitlement or power imbalances. Rape,
Right.
most of the time, is not about some type of sexual gratification. It's most of the time about a power gratification. That is
Right.
something that we have to like, we want to talk about squaring the circle. We have to square the circle a way that our society teaches that to people. Our society like teaches people from a young age that positions of power are good, and it's good to be in this position, and oftentimes it's good to abuse those positions, right? We glorify this. We have to remember that we exist in a society that glorifies rape culture. We literally elected a rapist to the highest seat of governmental office. We
Right.
live in a society that uses rape in media just for shock value, right? So when we talk about these things, and we talk about like, well, can we rehabilitate people who engage in like sexual crimes and all that? The answer is yes, we can. Those people can come to further understandings about like what they did, how they did it, why it was wrong, why it affected more. But that is possible for them. Does that mean necessarily that people are going to forgive them? No. And I don't think it should, right? I don't think it necessarily means that they now should be forgiven. But there is no end, there's no goal from retributive justice. It doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't stop this person from ever raping again, right? What happens if they're in prison and they become a rapist in prison, right? Locking them up and throwing away the key doesn't fix that. It just shifts who the crime might happen to next. It doesn't stop the next person from becoming a rapist. All that's going to do that is rehabilitative and restorative care. Like, that's the only thing that can do it.
Okay. I guess I have to think about it a little bit more, because my immediate reaction is like, there's some people that are irredeemable, but I guess if it's not really about redemption in the first place.
I think most people's reaction is going to be that way too, right? Most people's reaction is going to be they're irredeemable people. I don't 100% agree. I don't 100% disagree. I think there are people who have like severe mental stuff that makes it so that they cannot, they just are they just do violence. They get a gratification from that, and that's because of some kind of deficit in their brain. But that's not the default of human brains, right? People like that, sure, may not be able to ever be redeemed, but that doesn't mean that I'm now in favor of treating them like animals, and I'm not in favor of state sanctioned violence. So I'm not in favor of the state just gunning down these people either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my response to that.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. That was really good. This next one is the low key. I just need you to tell me if I'm being like racist in a way that I'm not realizing. I look at like people that are Christian, and I think as adults it's kind of embarrassing to be Christian, but I also recognize that there's kind of like an indoctrination factor, and a lot of people aren't thinking of it, that deeply. And when I look at particularly Black Americans, it seems almost more embarrassing because Christianity was forced upon them and utilized to enslave them and keep them enslaved. And I don't understand how they can know that. Maybe they don't know that, and still be Christian. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. So I don't know if I'm just like, is this just racist victim blaming that I'm doing, and I need to like take a step back?
I mean, I wouldn't call it that. I'm actually going to be giving a talk at a Black atheist convention or conference in June, and part of what I'm talking about is how like it's impossible for liberation to come from any sort of religious standpoint, because religion is like an inherently non-liberative force.
Yeah.
I would agree. I don't like that, like, as Black people, we've kind of fallen in with the white man's religion, one that was literally used to enslave us. But it's just, you got to remember, like Southern Black Christians were taught something vastly different. The slave Bibles removed so much in way of like,
Yeah.
oh, let's uprise from our let's uprise from slavery, right? And Christianity became a tool that slave masters used to keep slaves in line.
Right.
I mean, there's a reason why they loved that the Bible had passages like slaves obey your earthly masters. So I don't think it's possible to I personally don't get mad at black, like how heavy how heavy the black community is on religion, because I recognize that it's like almost a trauma response in a way.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I also recognize that like most of them don't have any kind of culture to fall back on because they were enslaved, right? And it was taken away from them. So I understand why they would end up like that. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, but like, yeah, it's a larger conversation. I don't think it's racist to point out that black people follow a religion that was used to oppress them. I don't believe that's a racist thing to point out. But yeah.
Okay. Okay. It does feel victim blaming though to me. I can't get rid of that. It feels like
Maybe.
victim blaming.
Maybe. But like I would say that like, and people in chat are mentioning it, like black churches and white churches are hella different. Some aren't. But you got to remember there are some black people, and I'll this will be the last thing I say on it. There are some black churches where it's clear church leadership wants to just use, and I mean there's white churches that do this too, but there's some black churches where it's very clear that church leadership wants to have an in with white supremacy, and so they're using the church to coax that out of their congregation.
Okay. All right, that's all I had. Thank you for taking my questions. I've been trying to get on for a little bit, so
Yeah, for sure.
have a good one. Okay.
Yep, you too. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. Next call. Yeah, 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 yeah. All right, Chris from North Carolina. We got Chris
My
from North Carolina
friend,
next on the show. Chris, I need your age and pronouns, please.
I'm 57 years old. I'm gonna get my ass shot for this. He and he. Can that be my pronouns?
I mean,
Dude, I've never even thought about my pronouns, and I'm sorry about that. I hope that doesn't start everything off on the wrong foot.
I'm just more worried about why you would get shot for it.
No, I didn't mean. I'm sorry. I meant preferably. I'm sorry. I didn't mean literally shot. I
Oh.
figured. God, what's my pronouns? I don't even know. I
Well,
figured maybe
it's
some
real simple.
chastisement, but
It's no. It's real simple. Do the people in your life refer to you as he and him, and are you okay with the fact that they refer to you as
he and him. He
Yeah.
and him. Yes. Yes.
Then those are your pronouns.
I mean, nobody's ever referred to me with that, but that would be correct.
Well, they might
for
not
me.
refer
Yes,
to
sir.
that when they're talking to you, but when they're talking about you, they would. Like if
Sure.
you left the room, if you were hanging out
Sure.
with a bunch of people and you left the
Absolutely.
room, somebody would say, "Oh, what?" And they didn't know you. They'd be, "Oh, what was his name?" Right? And you'd be like, "Oh, yeah, yeah."
Yeah.
And that's fine.
And I don't want to come across as a dumbass because, I'm not the smartest man in the world, but that's the first time that's ever really been.
Well, there's a difference, Chris.
I mean,
There's a
yeah,
difference between
that's correct.
you asking and saying, "Hey, I don't actually know," and like being okay with receiving the information, and somebody going, "I don't like that pronoun shit." Like, right? Those are just two vastly different responses. So we don't have an issue with your response to the question.
Yeah. So listen, I was wanting to talk to you. This won't take long because I know you got a ton of other callers. Point of clarification: you said that you don't think that an individual should use lethal force unless somebody else is using lethal force against them, correct? Just a little
Yeah,
while ago, I think you were talking to somebody.
yeah. That's like the like like elevator pitch style of it. Obviously, it'd be a little more nuanced if you want me to get into like the nuance of it. But generally speaking, I would say you shouldn't use lethal force unless unless you're being threatened with lethal force. You know.
Okay. Let me give you an example. I am a concealed carry. I have a concealed carry permit, and I live in Arden, North Carolina, which is just outside of Asheville. We have a terrible problem with militant panhandlers. I mean, these guys, and you know what? I don't mind giving them a dollar or two, but this now everything I'm telling you, I swear to you, is true. One night I was headed home. Gentleman comes from the corner, and I am carrying. He says, "Hey, let me have a couple dollars." I said, "Sir," I said, "I don't have any money." He said, "I said, all I've got is my card, and I can take my wallet and show you." Next thing I know, this, and I quote, "How about I open the door and jerk your goddamn ass out, beat your ass?" And I said, "Sir, let me tell you something. If you touch," I said, "if you look up on my on my mirror there, I've got a camera, this recording." I said, "If you touch my door handle," I said, "I will shoot you." I said, "I have a pistol on my side, and I will shoot you if you try to drag me out of my car." Now, I wasn't waiting for him to use lethal force. I said, "The best thing for you to do is go back over there in your corner and leave me alone and let me go home." And that's exactly what he did. But if he would have, and all of this is being recorded, if he would have opened my door, I would have shot him. Now, my question to you, would I have been in the right to do that, in your opinion?
I think that if all he's doing is touching your door, I think that would have been an unjustified shooting.
No, if he would have opened my door, if he would have lifted the handle up and opened my door, which I may have not have made that.
You're in your
correctly.
car, correct? Is that what I'm
in my car, and he's outside.
Your
He
door
tells
is
me
locked,
he's
right?
going to jerk me out of my car. Huh?
Your door is locked, right?
No, I had my window down. He came up to me. I saw him coming, and I knew what he was going to ask for, and I was just going to tell him, "Sir, I don't have any money." I said, "I'll tell you what, I should have told him, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go right up here to McDonald's and get you a couple of hamburgers." But I didn't even think about that when he told me he was going to jerk me out of my goddamn car and beat my ass.
Listen, I think if somebody is threatening you and they proceed to go through with the threat, I think legally it's okay that you use force on them. I don't know about lethal.
Okay.
Right? There's a lot more there that I would have to know before, like, could you just drive away? There's a lot else going on here, right? I would always look at, when it comes to lethal force, I'm going to look at all of the things that happened and go, was this your only option?
Same thing.
I tend to
when it comes
to lethal
that you're
force,
thinking. But I was at a red light. I looked.
I would have ran the red light.
There's no way I could have. There's no way I could have killed 2 or 3 people, and then I would have been in jail. I mean, we're talking. I had nowhere to go. I couldn't back up. There was traffic behind me, because I thought about the same thing. It wouldn't have bothered me to do a U-turn and haul ass the other way. But I mean, it wouldn't have bothered me at all. I wouldn't have felt like I was a sissy or a wussy or anything by doing that. I had nowhere to go. It scares me, bro. I'm telling you, it was all I could do to get home. I was shaking so bad. But I fully believe that he would have beat me until he was able to steal my wallet and steal whatever he wanted out of the truck and would have run off down the back. That's what
I think you would have been justified in using force. I don't know that you would have been justified in deadly force. But
Okay.
Force, I'd say you probably were justified. You would be justified in using force in that specific instance. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's okay. Cool, man. Hey, let me ask you about rehabilitative justice.
Okay.
One thing that I didn't hear, and I was listening to that, and I sort of dug it, but one thing I didn't hear was, okay, for instance, you take a person that has raped somebody. Before you start talking about rehabilitative justice, should you look at recidivism rate of the particular crime that this person has committed? I mean, I heard you say socio-economic things are the reasons men rape women. Maybe sometimes, but in my opinion, a lot of times, and I hate to be crude, so please don't think that I'm trying to be filthy mouth, but a lot of times, a man rapes a woman because he can't get laid on his own. He can't get pussy.
So we actually, just so you know, Chris, we actually do have studies on this, and most rape happens because of power dynamics. It's not because of sexual gratification. There are I'm not denying
power dynamics.
So let me explain. I'm not denying that there is sexually gratifying rape, right? Like, for instance, I'd say like Brock Turner, the guy who got caught raping a girl behind a trash can, right? That most likely was sexual gratification, right? But a lot of times when it comes to rape, it's about one party being able to physically dominate the other. And the people who do it get some type of gratification from that physical domination. It's not like a sexual. That's why there are tons of people who engage in sexual assault and rape who have partners or have people that they can sleep with if they want to. They have people that will sleep with them consensually, right?
All right.
And then a lot of people who are raped by close personal friends or partners, right? So like, it's mostly power.
All right. Having said that, I'm with you on that. Even so, with power dominance, where is the proof that they can be rehabilitated from that?
So I believe basically anybody can be rehabilitated. All we mean when we're saying rehabilitated is this person can now recognize their behavior was wrong. Their mindset has sort of changed, right? They don't believe in engaging in that behavior again. They're possibly potentially remorseful for said behavior. Probably not always, but sometimes like they would have remorse for said behavior. They would now be working on a path to changing and bettering their life away from said behavior.
All right. Who is in terms of rehabilitative justice, who would be held responsible if this individual, and I've not heard you talking about like letting them out of prison early, but say they do their time and they get out and they rate and they go through. I mean, I don't know the exact procedures of rehabilitative justice. I'm sure there would be some psychological stuff, I'm sure, but I don't know the complete procedures that it would take for that process to be, to move forward. But what happens when that moves forward and you say, this man is rehabilitated, we do not believe he is, and he rapes again? Would there be anybody held responsible for that?
Well, I mean, it would that the person would still be individually responsible. It's like now, right? Like somebody can go to prison for rape and get out. If they raped again, it's not on the state because the state let them out of prison. Like even if they get early released, right? So like it's not so much a question about like liability in this case, right? So like in all cases, it's the person Well, I guess we are in a rehabilitative model and like a restorative justice model. You're kind of saying that society in general has some responsibility, but that's neither here nor there. It's more
Okay. Well,
so
let
it's
me ask you
the
this.
question that
I'm
I
sorry.
think
Go
is
ahead.
well,
My
just
bad.
yeah, I think the more important question to be asked about this is what can we do to teach men specifically from an early age how to avoid or not avoid teach men from an early age consent, like, right? Like, how do we better, like, there are so many men who engage in actions that they think are okay, right? Not saying that
Mm-hmm.
that they should think it's okay, right? But again, we live
Right.
in a society that's like heavily in support of rape culture, right? Like, we have been
I
for
can believe that.
fucking ever.
Absolutely.
I mean, how many movies do we have where a guy
Yeah.
sees a passed out drunk girl and like high fives his best friend because like, yeah, I'm getting laid tonight. Like, that
Yeah.
instills in young boys and young men who watch stuff like that, oh, it's okay for me to take advantage of somebody who's drunk. Oh, it's okay for me to take advantage of somebody who's passed out. Things like that. That instills that into them. Our more important question on it is how do we educate that out of people? How do we educate rape culture out of people?
Well, I'll tell you, and my dad was old school. Old school. Um, he told me, he said, son, he said, as long as I'm alive, if you ever disrespect a woman, put your hands on her in any kind of way that she doesn't agree with, he said, you'll answer to me.
But you got to remember,
He said,
you have to remember,
you do not.
sometimes men work around that by getting unenthusiastic agreement. You know, it's like, oh, well, yeah, she said no the first time, but she said yes after the 50th time I asked her. Like, it's more than just, like, consent needs to be, it's called fries, which is the way consent needs to be given. It's freely given. Oh my God, what is somebody in chat remind me of the acronym. It's been a while since I've looked it up. It's like, oh, there it is. Freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic, and specific. And so we don't teach this. We just teach, oh, well, you gotta, like, she has to say yes. She can't say, if she says no, don't do it. So men hear no the first time and go, oh, well, I'll just ask 5 more times, you know,
Right,
until I
right,
wear them
yeah.
down, which is just like, no, that's not a yes. That's I want you to leave me alone, and you're not leaving me alone.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Say we have a person who's raped, who is gone to prison for rape, goes through the rehabilitative process, rapes again. Do we try rehabilitative justice for him again
Yeah, but
on the second time?
it just might look different. It might be that we go, okay, well, listen, now you've proven that you're a danger to yourself and society, so like you can still engage, but you're probably going to be engaged in a place separate of the people you're a danger to.
See, I don't have a problem with that, dude. I mean, look, unless it's a child. If it's a I'm glad somebody killed Jeffrey Epstein. Son of a bitch.
Listen,
I hope he's in
I'm
the
not
hell
gonna
right
sit
now.
here and be like, I wish Epstein was alive to receive rehabilitative care, right? I'm not gonna be the person that says that.
No. I'm just saying. No, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that at all. No, I'm sorry. I'm just somebody like that doesn't deserve to breathe free air. I think we both can sort of agree with that. I think. Okay, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I don't have a problem with trying to fix some of these issues. I mean, everybody thinks just because uh, you know, um, that you're. I don't know what to. I mean, I would love to see our prisons empty. and no crime. You know,
Well, yeah,
and
it's
be
like
able to rehabilitate murderers and rapists. I think it would. I mean, I think that would be great.
well, it's
You
like what
know,
I
so I
mentioned to
don't
the
have a
caller I was
problem.
talking to before you, right? Like right now, what we're doing in the U.S. is not working. We still have massively high recidivism, and it only goes up depending on how the economy is doing. Like right now, recidivism is fucking terrible, and we're not stopping these crimes from happening. So right now, what we're doing is not working. So we have to change
So
it.
let's try it.
And
Yeah.
I understand people's um reactions, especially with crimes that they've experienced committed on themselves. And I'm never going to say that someone's not valid for going like, well, I wish my rapist was dead. Fair. Right? Fair.
Right.
If someone harmed me or the people I love, I'd probably wish they were dead too. But we can't
Well,
operate our
that and
society
like the
off of
parents,
yeah, we can't operate
like the
the way our
parents of
society
somebody's daughter.
is. Yeah. It's just exactly. But we can't operate our society off of that. Right? That would just be
Well, let me ask you
incredibly
this:
dangerous for everybody. Because just real quick
Do
and think
you?
about it. And actually, no, I'm not going to go that route. You go ahead and say something. So what you were going to say?
Well, and I understand that you are an atheist, but do you believe in evil? I mean, do you believe that there's evil in the world?
Yeah, I would just
And do you?
define evil as a different thing than like Christians would define it.
Oh well, well, see, I'm not an atheist, so I wouldn't even know where to start. I mean, because I believe there is a devil. I believe he's evil. I mean, just look at our society.
See, one of the
Look at
things though
some of
for
the
me,
things that
Chris,
go
one
on.
of the things is it just feels like that's passing the buck. You know? Like, oh, well, these people aren't evil because of something that happened to them or something like these people are evil because the devil is influencing them to be evil.
Well,
You
let
know
me
what I
ask.
mean?
I sort of hear you on that, but let me give an example. All right, let's talk about the hood. Okay, we've got
Chris just wants someone to talk
hoods.
to.
We've got multiple
Low-key.
hoods, neighborhoods
The hood.
in Asheville and surrounding area. Let's talk about. Okay,
All right, he about
you
to
have
lose me
one
on this one. Oh
person
no.
from the hood, and he shoots somebody, but you might have 3 or 4 people in the hood that have never committed crimes in their lives. Young people that have never committed crimes. Why did that?
What does this
I
have to
don't
do with the
understand
devil?
how. Well, one person can say, "Well, I hate the hood, so I'm gonna kill this person," but there's 4 other people in the hood that are having the same struggles as that guy, but have chosen not to commit crimes because I've heard you talk about social and economic things. They're in the same boat that this guy's in.
Yeah, but
You see what I'm saying?
but Chris, that's like
See,
saying Chris, but what you're saying is like if I were to be like, well, I have 2 people and I gave alcohol to both of them. Why did this person become an alcoholic? Who knows? People are different. People interpret things differently. People experience trauma differently. People react differently. Who knows? There's like that's where the socio would come into socioeconomic, right? Like some people are going to respond to situations differently. Some people are going to fall into violence more likely than others. Like that's just the case. But like
well,
again,
I don't know. There's no answer to that. I don't guess. I mean,
well,
we
I
can
mean
work on it. That's for sure. And try.
the answer is poverty, right? The thing that's going to stop
Right.
predominantly most of this crime is to fix the poverty issue. Most of these
Right.
crimes are done because of poverty.
Right. Well, I can understand that. I can understand that. But
That shit.
back
Let's
when I
talk about the
used
hood.
to
Really took me out.
I used to party a lot, and I drank cold beer and smoked weed, and we would have
Based.
drug dealers that would bring us weed and stuff. And they said the greatest thing in the world for us is when government and law enforcement and everything, they start talking about poverty is the reason why we are doing what we're doing. He said, that's bullshit. He said, we're doing what we're doing to make money. He said, that ain't got nothing to do about poverty.
Chris, that's
He said, we're still,
Chris,
he
but
said,
Chris, but Chris, but
he
Chris.
said,
That's
oh,
like
wait a minute,
someone
wait a
going.
minute, I'm not
Wait,
finished.
wait,
He said,
wait.
he said, I got $20,000 in my pocket. But when I leave here, I'm going back to my hood. I ain't going to a nice apartment or nothing. He said, I'm going back to my hood.
But Chris, the problem is that's like saying, "Oh, I got some people drink water because they're thirsty," and someone goes, "Well, I'm not thirsty. I'm just parched." Oh, okay. So you're thirsty, like, right? It's not poverty. It's they want money, and the reason you want money is because you don't want to be impoverished. It's the same
Right,
thing.
but they don't care because they got a pocket full of money, but they're still going back to the hood. You see what I'm saying? You see, they're not trying to get out of the hood. They love the hood, and I would too. To be perfectly honest with you, if I could walk around with 20 or 30 grand in my pocket, and I'm not,
Where are we going?
you know, I wouldn't. That's a good thing. Be walking around with that kind of money. They don't care. They don't care that they're in the hood.
Chris,
They're
that's
making the cash.
Chris, that's
The
still
jack.
Chris, that's still poverty. That's still a poverty issue.
They're not. So you talking about a man walking around with $20,000 or $30,000 in his pocket every day, slinging dope?
Yes, if
Is
he
in
didn't
poverty?
need, if he had no need for $30,000 in his pocket every day, he wouldn't do it. He's doing it because of money. That's still a poverty issue.
If you're making $20,000 or $30,000 a day,
By the way, most of these people are
selling
not
dope,
making $20,000 or $30,000 a day. Just
selling dope.
FYI.
Well, we can. Okay, if you say, but let me tell you that if a cocaine and a fentanyl dealer, if he can't get out of the hood, nobody can.
It's not about Chris.
I'm telling you, they can sell. You could sell fentanyl for 5 years, and
It's
you
not
could
about
get out of
getting
the
out of.
hood and have
It's
a
not
nice
about getting
house,
out of the hood,
a
Chris.
nice vehicle.
Chris, it's
Now
not.
you won't make and find you a good job and whatnot. Now you ain't gonna make the same money as you was slinging dope,
Chris,
but
it's not.
you could get out of the hood if you wanted to, or I could. I don't know about them, but I guarantee you, if I'm tired of the hood and I'm tired of slinging dope, I'm gonna sell dope long enough for me to save enough money to get out of the hood. Now,
All right.
I may be wrong on that, brother. I'm not, like I said, I'm here to be civil. I'm not here to, well, you're stupid. That is stupid. I'm just not, I'm not down for that. I may be completely wrong and I may be ignorant, but it's not on purpose. I try not to be. And I've tried to, I think we've had a civil discussion and I like it. When I can talk to somebody and I don't feel like the first thing that they're going to think is, well, this is some hillbilly dumb redneck or something like that. It makes me feel, I mean, maybe, and I just say maybe makes me feel a little better about myself and I am able to carry on a conversation. Doesn't mean that I know everything, because I know I don't. Matter of fact, you've educated me on a lot on the rehabilitative justice. So I thank you for that.
Okay. Well, Chris, we are gonna end there because I have other people waiting in the call queue. So
Absolutely, I understand.
all right.
Okay.
You have a
Well,
good
you
day,
have
Chris.
I won't say a blessed day because I know you're not down with that. But you have a good day, sir. And I hope that tomorrow's better. Thank you.
All right. No problem, Chris. Was that him? Wait. Was Chris the dude that said when I said I thought conservatives were stupid, is he the one that said he fucked my mom? Is that the same guy and I just didn't realize it? Oh shit. Play flashback clip right here. God damn, oh shit. Anyway. I think it might have been. All right, let's take the next caller. Oh, let me read super chats real quick. Fuzzy Logic said, also, wouldn't it be great if we had some kind of impartial public official whose job it is to judge whether a lawsuit is frivolous or not? Oh my God, so true. Joey Smith Jr. said, X, a timeless computer. Say we make a machine that doesn't experience time. We couldn't get an output from it because it can't ever do a thing from your point of view. Yes. Oh, example. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for the little jewel thing on YouTube. I don't know. To stay hydrated? Sure. Deaf Piglet said, last time I sent a super chat that I was sick and missed the reading them out mark. Can a brother get a good luck on rebuilding my life after a breakup? Oh shit, good luck. And then Olivia, Javon, no need to mention me on the ending credits, much less twice. Do I mention you twice at the end credits? I gotta redo those for May anyway. Remember, you can also tip on Cash App and Venmo. Always appreciated, never required. But they are there if you want to say what's up and bless to your boy, DJ Skinny Penis. Oh, Hunter. So sorry I missed your Venmo. Please ask Justin about the Epstein file release act and why Trump and the DOJ have violated that time frame at it and to keep from it being a whataboutism. Oh, well, he ran anyway. He was a punk bitch. All right, next call. Forgive me for making that fucking disgusting noise on stream, but whatever. Coming up next is Jeff. Jeff is calling to talk about topic number 2, trans men and women being men and women. Jeff from Tennessee. Jeff, if you can hear me, please provide me with your age and pronouns.
I'm 30, and by pronoun, do you mean like a description to an action, place, thing, or?
Nope. Pronouns would be words that we use in place of proper nouns to refer to people. Specifically, this would be me asking you how you like to be referred to. This would be me asking you how you like to be referred to in the third person.
Well, I mean, I would assume I'm a man.
But how would you like to be referred to in the third person?
In the third person, Jeff.
Okay, so I'll make it easier. There are about 1,000 people between my two platforms watching us right now. In chat, they're going to refer to you as either he, she, or they. How would you like which one of those would you like them to use?
He. I'll pick from he.
There we go. So that would be the answer. If somebody asks what your pronouns are, you would just say he or him. Jeff, you're calling to talk about trans men and women being men and women. So Jeff, I do believe that trans men and women are men and women because there is no one biological trait that is necessary for gender that has 0 exceptions. Therefore, I believe gender categories must be social or psychological categories, not biological ones. Do you disagree? And if so, why?
Well, I disagree because you're the way you put it out there, first off, is very questionable. Yes, trans men and trans women are men and women.
Oh, true. W.
I mean, that's very, very true.
Glad you agree.
I mean, like you kind of, it's an oxymoron, really, to what you just said.
Is that an oxymoron? Sounds like it's just a statement of clarity.
trans men and women, trans men and trans women are men and women.
True. Yes.
So, like, what do you mean by trans men and trans women? I guess would be my question.
Men and women who would happen to be transgender.
What does that mean?
Men and women whose gender identity does not align with the sex they were assigned at birth.
The sex they was assigned at birth, how did they assume that sex?
Well, they don't assume their sex. Doctors do.
Okay, well, how did the doctors assume their sex?
Typically by checking their genitalia.
Okay. So then how do they decide, I keep on saying they, what makes they trans? Like, what makes a person trans?
They would be trans if their gender identity does not align with that assigned sex at birth.
So what is gender identity?
Gender identity would be your subjective person. Well, gender is going to refer to the traits that are typically assigned to the sexes within any given society. Gender identity is going to refer to the subjective perception of your sex, like your brain's subjective perception of your sex, and the way that sex is oriented in your body.
Okay, so it doesn't change the sex though, correct?
It doesn't change. No, just being trans on its own would not change your sex. No.
So say if we die and they dig up our bones 100 years from now, they're able to tell by DNA if that was a man or a woman, correct?
They would be able to tell, like, your sex.
Because the DNA and their pelvic bones are a lot wider than men's.
Yeah, sometimes they're able to tell what your sex is, but they're typically not able to tell your gender because sex and gender are different. But they would be able to tell what your sex is.
So if a trans man, if a trans man, for example, was to die, and 100 years from now, they dig up, would it be a man or a woman?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Say if a trans man was to die, and then 100 years from now, they dig up the bones, would that come back as a man or a woman?
We wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know by the DNA and the pelvic structure or nothing else?
Bones can't tell you what someone's gender is. It can only tell
No,
you
but
what
the DNA can.
DNA can't tell you someone's gender. It potentially can tell you someone's sex, but it can't tell you their gender.
So what is the difference? That's where I'm getting very confused. Like,
So
I don't understand.
Sex is just a list of biological traits associated with reproduction. Gender is more how you fit in, like, a social category. It's like a socially defined
When did they change the definition? Because back within 10 years ago, you go by Webster's dictionary, it was one hand, what's the other on gender and sex. So what happened? When did they change the definition?
We've essentially been splitting gender from sex in, like, academia since the 50s. Maybe even the 20s if you go back far enough.
Not according to Webster's. No, sir.
Webster's isn't an academic dictionary. So, yeah, it wouldn't. Webster's just tells us how.
Which one do you follow then? If you don't follow Webster's, which one do you follow?
Well, it's not about do I follow Webster's. Webster is just telling us how people tend to use the phrase at the time. It's not telling us, like, scientifically how we're categorizing these things. So, yeah, it doesn't. Most people have used sex.
A truck?
What?
Is a car a truck?
I would say a truck is a type of car, yeah.
Okay, I'm white. What if I wanted to identify as black?
Black is not like an like internal identity.
No, sir. You look at Rachel Dolezal. She was head of NAACP for years.
Why do we look at a crazy person to tell us like Rachel Dolezal is insane?
I'm just used her as an example.
But why would I use an insane person as my example?
I'm just
Like,
saying. I mean, she was white and pretended to be black for years, and now she still pretends to be black, and she's accepted.
Yes, she lied.
Yeah, but she's still accepted by the black community.
No, she's not.
Okay. I don't know if you've seen recent headlines about her, but
black people don't think Rachel Dolezal is black.
But so do you represent all black people, correct?
No, just like Rachel Dolezal doesn't.
Okay, well, I mean, then one hand wipes the other in that situation.
Sure, you used her as a clarification to represent everybody.
Okay, then you also made a standpoint saying that you don't. So
race is an external.
How does that differentiate from gender? Why can't I be black?
Race is an external classification placed upon people by a state. Race
like
is something
genitals?
that what?
Like genitals? You said earlier how a doctor determines genitals. And how do you determine the sex at birth?
Doctors are just making an educated guess based
between a dick and a pussy?
Oh my good God. I don't think you want an answer, Jeff.
I'm sorry. I will be quiet. I will let you answer. I'm sorry.
So when doctors are determining a baby's sex, they are making a guess because what we typically see is males are born with penises and females are born with vaginas. So they're just making an educated guess. They don't know for sure. It's just an educated guess based on what we typically see. They're not prescribing something because they're not checking your karyotyping when you're born. They're not saying you're definitely this because they get it wrong all the time. They are just making an educated guess.
So it's how do you differentiate between a penis and a vagina and the testicles?
By looking at them.
Okay, so it's still just a guess.
One is an innie, one is an outie.
Okay, so it's still that they are guessing. Then
they're guessing.
Is that what you?
No, what they're guessing is if your penis/vagina, right, means you're male or female. That's what they're guessing.
Okay. And so, what do you mean by guess? Like, how do you determine if it's real or not? Are they born with fake penises and fake vaginas?
Because penises and vaginas are not sex determinant traits. They're traits determined by your sex. So what typically we see is that
by your chromosomes.
No. Your penis and vagina would be determined by an activated SRY gene.
Yes, which I honestly just had DNA test done. So judging by your chromosomes, that does not determine sex or gender.
No, your penis and vagina.
Is that what you're determining?
No, I'm telling you that a penis and vagina are determined by whether you have an activated SRY gene, which can happen on both an X or a Y chromosome.
Yeah, and black people can have a white baby. Don't mean it happens all the time.
Jeff, I genuinely don't think you're comprehending this conversation.
Like, that's why I told you, like, I really do not understand, like, where you're coming from, because
you're not even attempting to.
Sense.
You're not even attempting to understand. Because you're not listening to what I'm saying. You're just waiting to respond.
Okay. I'm listening to what you're saying. What was the next thing you was going to say, sir?
So I'm going to say it again. I'm a black man. I'm not black because I have some internal feeling of being black. I'm black because the United States government classifies me as black. That's why I'm black. I fall under a state structure of race, and I'm black.
Why don't you want to be white? If white privilege existed, why don't you want to identify as white?
What is the relevance of this question?
I mean, I just saw that on your list earlier too. I mean, if you want to identify as white, why wouldn't you take advantage of white privilege?
Sorry, I think my brain broke on that one. I don't know what
Yeah,
you
I
mean
mean-
by identify as white. Race is not
I mean-
something you can. Race just is. I just am black because the system puts me as black.
So you
If this-
are a man and you are a female, just as you are black and I am white.
Jeff, again, you're just listening to respond. I'm trying here, but you're giving me nothing in
I'm
return.
trying too, sir.
You're quite
but-
literally giving me nothing in return.
I mean, I'm throwing out facts. I don't know what you're throwing out, but
You haven't said a single fact, Jeff. You've just been saying things you
what,
feel.
what did I say that was false then? If I haven't said a single fact, what was false?
Jeff, you haven't said anything.
That
You've just
men
been
are born men and females are born females? If you're white, you're white, and if you're black, you're black?
Why did you say men and then say females?
Okay, males, I'm sorry.
Yeah, have I ever
apologize.
disagreed that humans are born male or female? No.
I mean, ain't this a part of the conversation?
What?
Trans men and women are men and women. And
Do
I said that first off.
Jeff, am I using the word males or females in that sentence?
Okay. Men, and trans women are men and women.
Uh-huh. What was my reason for it?
I don't know because it's very vague. Because yes, men are
Jeff,
men
it was the very first
and
thing I
women
said.
are women.
The very first thing I said in the conversation was why I believe it.
Oh, there's a difference between believing it and it being true.
Yeah, I don't believe things that aren't
Just like
true.
you said, the Christian God is evil, and I mean, there's only one true God.
Okay, then that one true God is evil. I don't.
But I really don't know what else to give you, buddy.
You haven't given me anything so far.
Well, you haven't all right. Okay. Trans men, trans women are men and women. Should trans men compete in women's sports?
Should trans men compete in women's sports? No.
They shouldn't? Why not?
No, because they're men. So they should compete in men's sports.
No, hey, what did you just say? You said trans men are men?
Correct.
That ain't what your thing says.
Yes, it is.
So trans men should not compete with women.
Correct, because they're men.
But what if they identify? Or okay, well, what if they? Let's see, I might have said that wrong. Should trans men compete with women? Trans women compete with women.
Yes.
They should. So
Yes.
if they're in a boxing match, a man who has XY chromosomes should box against a female.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Box, like say fighting.
Okay. What about it?
I'm sorry, I'm still new on the pronoun game, but trans women, should they compete with real women in any kind of sporting competition?
Trans women are real women, so yes, they should compete against other real women. Yes.
So the biological differences don't mean anything.
They would mean about the same thing as any woman with biological differences.
What do you mean by any woman who has biological differences?
Let's imagine,
A
if you
different
will.
chromosome?
Let's imagine, if you will, I have a woman, right, who's born female, who is as strong as a man, right? She's just naturally
very rare. But
doesn't
yeah,
matter.
go
It
ahead.
happens. She's 6'4". She's built like Dwayne the Rock Johnson. She has muscle mass on muscle mass.
I hope this is hypothetical, but
I mean, there are women that exist like this. Should she be able to compete against other women?
well, it's against other women in her weight class.
Okay, so then why would I separate people by gender, not just by weight class?
Gender and weight class are two different things. That's why they have 18 different weights in boxing.
Yes, so I
That's
don't
why
really,
they have 8 different weights in the UFC.
So I think we just do
That's
weight
why
class in boxing.
You're not
Like,
going to put a 265-pound man against a 135 flyweight.
Exactly. So I would do the same thing.
So it didn't matter that that men are just naturally stronger, correct?
Some men are stronger than some women, yes.
Some men are. No, would you
Just
not
like
agree with me that
some
the
women are
overwhelming
stronger than some
majority?
men, yeah.
You wouldn't agree with me?
Would I agree with you on what?
The overwhelming majority of men are way stronger than the majority of women.
Yeah, I'd say sometimes, typically, men are
Sometimes, no,
stronger.
I'm asking you with the overwhelming majority.
I just answered you. I said typically men are stronger than women. Yes.
Okay.
What does that matter?
So if a trans woman was to fight against a woman, you see that as fair?
If they both agree to the fight, yes, it's fair.
Well, what about the Olympics whenever one hid it from her?
When who hid what
And
from
they
what?
only found out because of a DNA test that woman from, it wasn't Brazil, but
Iman Khalif was born female. She was not
there was
trans.
two, and the Olympic weightlifter, I forget her name.
Laurel Hubbard, I think was her name. She lost.
Mm-hmm.
She did not place.
Yes, that is it.
So she didn't seem to have much of an advantage if she came in dead last.
Well, she won a gold medal.
No, she didn't. She came in dead last. She DNR'd.
Okay.
Or DNF'd.
I don't know.
You don't win a medal if you DNF. I never heard of last place getting a gold medal personally.
Yeah, she's from New Zealand, right?
I don't remember where she was from.
Yes, she is. She was the 7th highest in the IWF's Women's World Championship 2017 Anaheim, 2019 Apaya. So all I'm saying is she changed her sex and now she's winning gold medals. I mean, right now I've got 4 right here.
She didn't win a gold medal. Goodbye, Jeff. What the fuck, dude? Shout out to Meg and Erica for wanting to get rid of Jeff. Said, give Jeff the boot, and I don't know what else to give you, buddy. On God. On God. How do you win a gold medal if you DNF, bro? All right, next call. Coming up next is Daniel. Daniel is calling about topic number 4, gender affirming care for minors. Daniel from Arizona. Daniel, if you can hear me, please provide me with your age and pronouns.
29 and him.
All right. No problem. All right, Daniel calling about topic number 4. So Daniel, I do believe that I believe in gender affirming care for minors because it's been shown to help reduce distress and improve well-being when done under medical supervision. Do you disagree? And if so, why?
I would say I disagree probably 90% of the time. I'm sure there's circumstances that would make sense, but I think most circumstances would not make sense for most children, because we don't even trust children to smoke, drink, drive. What is the other? Like most things you can't even do. You can't enlist in the military. There's most things you can't do. Like
So
smoking once isn't going to ruin your life, or
so
drinking
we're
once
just
isn't going to ruin
just
your
really
life.
quickly,
But
you can drive at 15.
well, sorry, I meant like my bad. I should have specified like you can't rent a car. Like
Sure,
they
you
won't
can't
like
rent a
most places won't let
car
you.
until you're 25. Should we
Yeah,
up the age
exactly.
of driving to 25?
No, but I mean they don't trust kids to like do that, but we want to trust them with their bodies to like mangle and chop up their bodies at such a young age where
Well, bodies aren't
like
being
one day they
chopped
want to
up.
be a firefighter, and the next day they want to be a police officer, and the next day they
Daniel,
want to be a
I just want to
veterinarian.
confirm here. You understand that per like current standards of care, you can't get surgical interventions like bottom surgery till you're 18, right?
So you're just talking about drugs.
Well, I would be talking about
Is
the
that
type
like?
of gender affirming care that's age appropriate, which
Oh, okay.
under 18 is going to be things like social affirming care, pubertal suppressants, HRT, and then top surgery.
Top shirts. What do we mean? Oh, like chest area kind of thing.
Yes. Surgery
Okay.
to your top.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's why. Okay. So I just want to make sure. All right. But then I guess I haven't looked into it too much. Do you know of
That's
like any
obvious.
negative effects of those medical treatments you were just describing?
All medical treatments have negative side effects. The conversation needs to be about do those negatives outweigh the benefits? And in most instances of gender affirming care, they do not.
And most, one more time, sorry. In
most instances of gender affirming care, the benefits outweigh the negatives, like 100%.
Okay. Okay. And is that like, would you say that's for like 100% of the kids that feel like confused about their genders, or is there like a threshold, or is it like
It's going to be about
a
for
one-time
97% of people. We know that the regret rate of gender affirming care sits at about 3%. So it's 97% of people. They what's the word I'm looking for? They don't regret this care, so that means that this care is beneficial to them.
Well, what's the threshold for determining when that's the appropriate move to make?
Well, that would be determined by doctors. So who knows?
By
It's going to be
doctors?
different. It's going to be different for every person. Your doctors
Not
tend to
like,
be the ones that recommend
sorry.
specific types of care. Or if
Is
you
it
want
based
the
just
care, your
on?
doctors
Sorry.
will evaluate if that care is appropriate for you.
Is it based on any like biological anomalies with that person, or is it just based on their mental state?
Is it based on sorry, is it
Not
based on any biological anomalies? I don't know what you mean by that.
well, like hermaphrodites, right? I forget. I think that's not the appropriate term anymore.
It's not.
But yeah. But if it's just based on more of a mental state,
So
then
you would
wouldn't
be
that
talking
really want
about
to constitute?
you would be talking about intersex conditions. So those would be differences in sex development. Oftentimes surgical intervention is used for intersex conditions. But those are typically done much lower in age. Unless the condition isn't found out until adulthood. When it comes to gender affirming care, that typically isn't happening because of some intersex condition, like when we're talking about transition care.
I guess, yeah, my thought process is like, why are we just leaving it with a doctor if it sounds like it's more of like a mental state kind of thing? Wouldn't we want to get like a therapist or psychiatrist probably involved in that situation?
So I see the confusion.
Trusting a doctor.
When I say doctor,
yeah.
they are included in that because they are also doctors.
Okay. Oh yeah, I just thinking like medical doctor, yeah, okay. what was it? Sorry, I lost my train of thought on one thing I was trying to say. So if we're thinking that just a medical doctor, well, I guess again, so we're just saying it's an individual basis. Like, would you say that if a child was to say one time and one time only, like, hey, I think I'm the wrong sex, is that the right move to just act on that?
No, because
Or is it more of a conversation?
current standards of care require 6 months of consistency, persistency, and insistency on that gender identity. So if they do it one time, no, they wouldn't be recommended for care.
Okay. I'm glad I'm talking to you, though, because I thought people were pushing a little harder for more extreme cases, but sounds like there's some logic and reason behind most of these people that are actually talking about this, so that's good to hear.
Yeah, we've had pretty concrete standards of care for like the last 7 years, 8 years. So
Well, do you think that it's more of a fad for most kids? I mean, I know growing up,
if it was a
what I've
fad, we
heard
would
with
see
my parents,
much higher detransition rates, but we don't.
or people are like too afraid right now of like community like whiplash or whatever, or that's not the right word. Like just getting like alienated from the community if they were to detransition.
You're
Maybe
more
it's more of a
likely to
social
be
thing.
alienated from your community if you are trans than you are if
Yeah.
you are not trans. So they've already experienced the alienation coming out as who they like are.
But then they can get alienated by the group that only accepts them now if they backpedal.
Well, the other
So
group
then they
would
would have
start
nobody.
accepting them again.
Yeah. Sorry, what?
The other group typically would start accepting them again. So they would just
Yeah.
go from one group to the other.
Possibly. Yeah, or unless they're like a part of like a religious fanatic kind of group originally or something like that. But yeah. All right. Well, I guess I'm glad that I talked to you because it actually sounds like more reasonable than I thought. So.
All right. Well, then, Daniel, do you agree minors deserve access to gender affirming care?
I believe in certain circumstances, yes. Yeah, I mean, very few, but for certain circumstances makes sense.
So your position hasn't changed much?
No, I mean, I still have my concerns personally, and with my family and others that it could be a fad for certain people, like it was with the gays and the lesbians for a while there. But that kind of thing is a lot easier to backpedal out of if you don't think you're actually gay or lesbian. Getting hormone treatments and all that other kind of stuff could be.
Sorry, maybe I just wasn't alive in the 90s. I was, but maybe I was just not conscious, I guess. What do you mean when it was a fad for people to be gay and lesbian?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've seen it growing up too. A lot of people when I was at school were just like acting like they were gay or lesbian just because they thought it was cool, but they were still actually straight, but they would just act like they were, or they would like be bi for like a month, and then they're like, oh, never mind, that's not the thing I'm into. It's like,
So they
all
were
right,
just
well, whatever, you just did it for likes.
Was it for likes, or were they just exploring their sexuality? Also, how do you know they're not still bi and they didn't just get backlash for being bi, so they just went back to saying they weren't bi anymore?
Yeah, I guess that's true, but it's what people talk about when they, or if you're involved with them sexually too, and you're like, yeah, obviously that's not the case. So.
Okay.
But, I don't know, man. I mean, there's a lot of fads. There's always a fad with kids, and this seems to be the fad right now for most kids.
No, I'd say the fad right now is like 6, 7. I wouldn't say it's being trans.
That's true. That 6, 7 bullshit is annoying as hell. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, man. I mean, yeah, I'm still iffy on it myself. I can see what the numbers say, but who knows? I mean, maybe it's still too early to tell. Maybe the numbers will skew dramatically in the next couple of years. I mean,
They
they lie about data all the
they
time.
haven't even
They used
remotely
to say that
skewed
cigarettes
yet.
were good for you too back in the day.
Well, yeah,
So,
but that's because big tobacco as an industry made massive profits off of cigarettes.
well, medical industries make a lot of money chopping up kids or giving them hormones or whatever, right? I mean,
They're
chopping
real,
up 18-year-olds. and
you know
giving
that
kids
like it's very rare that a child receives medical gender affirming care. They're really not making that much money off these kids.
Yeah, but if they really get it rolling, just like they did with cigarettes back in the day, right? Cigarettes weren't popular at first, but when they got it going, that's when they started making the money.
Let me ask you a question. What if the government stepped in and they said, we're going to handle gender affirming care. We're going to remove the profit incentive out of it completely for big pharma, right? We'll handle it all. Big pharma makes no money off of this. Doctors make no money off of this. Now, do you support it?
Well, that's tough because we all know that government still makes money one way or another. They shouldn't. I know they shouldn't, but they're gonna give
the
their
scenario I'm
buddies.
giving you, they don't. In
they're
the
gonna
scenario
give-
I'm giving you, they don't make any profit off of it.
Well, yes, in theory. Well, in practice, they shouldn't, but they're
I'm
going
giving you
to
a
because they're going to give their
hypothetical, and
buddy
the parameters
doctor
of the
all the.
hypothetical is that they make $0 off of it. That's the parameters
Yeah.
of the hypothetical I'm giving you. So if it was the case that the government made $0 off of this, would you now support gender affirming care for minors?
I think maybe a higher threshold, like 6 months might not be enough. That might be tough, but I get it because you might miss the window to where it could be more complicated for them at that point. So it's a sensitive topic for like six. Is really 6 months long enough? I don't know. There's just too many variables still that maybe haven't been properly addressed.
What variables specifically?
Well, like the 6 months, is that really appropriate? Should it be a year or two? But I can understand, right? Like you could miss the appropriate window to where the drugs could be the most effective. Do the drugs actually have do we know all the side effects now, or could there be more side effects that we aren't aware of yet? Because obviously these people haven't been alive long enough.
Let's say
with
there's
these.
50. Let's say we go 50 years into the future. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
None of this. Everything is the same. None of this has come. There's been none of that. Now you would support gender affirming care for minors.
50 years in the future, we know that the drugs have massive side effects. We know that people aren't making a shit ton of money off of it. We know that there isn't a high rate of what's it called? Not rejection. You had the right word. I'm sorry, I forgot what it was.
Regret.
Like backpedaling, but yeah. And then what was the other variable? There was another variable that I think I had, but yeah, like 6 months still. But maybe they'll get a better number. Maybe they'll find out it's 8 months. Maybe they'll find out it's a year. Maybe they'll.
This is my issue. This is my issue with the rejection of the care. Is every time I assuade this position, you're still like, I don't know. I don't know. It feels like you feel icky about the case. It's not about any of the actual numbers. I could quote to you all day studies on the positives of gender affirming care, how we see a positive reaction to it, how there is benefits, both mental health and overall outcomes from the people that take it. It's just that you don't like it. You just feel icky about it. And that's your objection.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you could probably say that. I mean, it's just so new. It's still,
not that
and I
new.
feel like it's in its infancy, right? Like
We've been doing
just so many
these
things,
treatments since the 90s. This isn't new. That's 30 years
I
of
didn't know
data.
that. Oh. Yeah, but I don't know. Like just accepting it wholeheartedly could, I feel like, have massive repercussions, right? What if people start treating it like it's bad?
So
Well,
Daniel,
everyone's
in
accepting
the
it. Let's
debate
do it now.
universe, this is called a slippery slope fallacy. Okay? You're saying we shouldn't do this thing, even though there's mountains of positive evidence for it, because what if somewhere down the line something majorly negative happens? But you can't really show how that negative will happen. It's called a slippery slope fallacy. It's like, okay, but it's just a fallacious argument.
I know. Well, it's tougher with this one because, like, saying we should lower the age for smoking to 17 by 1 year, it's not going to be life altering probably as much as, you know, somebody getting hormones or, you know, surgical treatment, right?
We make life altering decisions for children daily. Some of which that are permanent. Like, we do it all the time. But for some reason, this life altering decision people have issues with.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, like vaccines, you can't really see the signs, right, early of like the repercussions of it, right? Just someday somebody might start showing symptoms, right? If you're doing gender affirming care, right, then you're messing with somebody's reproductive abilities, you're messing with, you know, how they see themselves, how the world sees themselves, and maybe that might affect them later down the road. Like right now they accept it, but what if they don't later, or what if other people don't accept them? Like, there's just, what if it makes it harder for them on life? I mean, it obviously does make it harder on them
Again,
for life,
though,
right? I mean,
Daniel, we have the regret rates. They don't regret these. They weigh these benefits and negatives, and they find that the positives outweigh the negatives overwhelmingly.
yeah. I guess I'm just not fully sold on it, and you know, I understand that you want to sell me on it, but
it's not
that's
about selling you on it, David. It's about at least getting you to the point where you acknowledge that your reason for not liking it is just because you find it icky. There is no solid reasoning here. It's just, I don't like it because it's kind of weird to me.
Yeah, I guess it is. It's just, I don't know, like it goes against like biology and like science, right? It goes against everything that we know that like is the norm, and that's just how society is, right? We are hard to transition, and it's not like people are trying to be mean about it. It's just it's tough, right? Every transition in society is tough for people. It's tough on people. Like, I'm here talking with you because I'm trying, you know, to understand. I'm not going to flip the coin in a day, you know. That's so. I mean, I guess maybe just try to understand that's where people are coming from a little bit. So.
Sure. One of the things that, when it comes to stuff like this, is it's very hard for someone to logic their way out of a stance they didn't logic their way into. You know what I mean? So I'm not asking you right now, like, to change, but I'm saying hopefully you sit with this, maybe come back and listen to the call later, and just recognize that you're not making a stance from any logical position. You're literally just going, I don't like it, so therefore we shouldn't do it.
Yeah, I guess I can understand why you see it that way, and I can understand why that, you know, doesn't sit well with people. So I can respect that.
Okay, well then I'm going to move on to the next call then, David. Or Daniel, whatever your name is. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good, brother, Daniel.
All right. Cool.
Yeah,
thanks
man, you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, take care.
I just, you know, you can't logic them into... Joey Smith said if trans regret rate were as high as CT, then yes. True. Joe White said I've known that gender and sex were not the same since my second semester in college in 86. This is not new data. True. Vampy said, how dare you call a man a man? How could you say such a thing, Jovan? Yo, shit, you're so right. Lidity, thank you for becoming a tier 3 member over on Twitch. Olivia, thank you for becoming a tier 4 member over on Twitch. And also, Olivia, thanks for the super chat. Before penicillin, men were men, women were women. No, deadass. Megan, thank you for the Venmos. What did you actually say in them? In my opinion, any call about gender affirming care for minors should start by asking the caller what their understanding of what gender affirming care runs entails. At the end, yeah, I don't know. I feel like when I start there, I'm missing half the fun, right? Which is finding out that the callers. I would rather lead the caller to realizing, or lead the audience to realizing the caller just don't know what they're talking about. Maybe you could call that clip farming. I call that good entertainment. Ugh, I need to get more water. Next call. Coming up next is Jacqueline. Jacqueline calling from, it's either Michigan or Minnesota. I don't remember the state things. Calling about trans men and women being men and women. Jacqueline, if you can hear me, please provide me with your age and pronouns.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I am 44 and I am from Michigan. I'm a woman. She, her.
Okay. And you're calling to talk about trans men and women being men and women. No problem. Jacqueline, I do believe that trans men and women are men and women because there is no one biological trait that is necessary for gender that is zero exceptions. Therefore, I don't believe gender categories therefore I believe gender categories must be social or psychological categories and not biological ones. Do you disagree? And if so, why?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. I believe that I believe that trans men and women are men and women because there is no one biological trait that is necessary for gender that is zero exceptions. So therefore, gender categories must be social or psychological categories, not biological ones.
Right. I would have to disagree a little bit with you, sir.
Okay, so what is the trait then?
No, it's not about what's the trait. For me, a man is a man and a woman is a woman. It's biological, and it's social.
Sure, but if it's biological, what
I
would be the
know that
biological trait?
gender is a social construct. I get it. I'm very progressive. I'm not a person who's on the right, who's going to spew to you these Bible things. That's not my personality. For me, I feel like we're speaking about the wrong thing. I feel like instead of speaking about patriarchy and how it makes you move to one side of the spectrum or the other, and then it makes you feel alone in your own identity at one side. For example, if I'm a very feminine man, I look at women and the freedom they're able to, they're able to be feminine and they're able to express themselves and they have all this nuance. But as a man, your identity must be this stale thing. So they want to move towards the center. They want to say, hey, I'm trans. But for me, it's not a thing that actually exists. That is just a feminine man.
You don't think
which is
trans people
beautiful.
exist?
I don't think gender is a real thing. I
You
think
don't
gender
think
is how we
gender is a
express
real thing?
ourselves.
So you're not a woman.
I think that I'm a woman because I'm a female.
Okay,
right? I'm
so
a female. I was
gender is
born
just
as a
tied.
woman. I'm
So
a
again,
female.
okay, so this is my issue.
Go for it.
I again am trying to tell you that if you're making the claim that all women must be female, that means all females must possess some necessary trait to be female. I am making the claim that there is no one trait that is both exceptionless and necessary and exceptionless, right? So you're telling me you do have that trait, and that's how you're excluding trans women from the category. So what is that trait?
So if you were born with a vagina, right? Because your SRY is you have to throw away. You like throw it around a lot, talking about whether you have a Y gene or not a Y gene. That's your rational, right? That tells you if you're female or if you're male. There are intersex people, right?
Wait. The
And
SRY
hopefully
gene.
they get.
The SRY gene doesn't
I'm
tell
sorry.
you
Go
if you're
ahead.
female. The SRY gene doesn't tell you if you're female or male. It just determines which anatomy is going to end up. Like the SRY gene will determine the gonad structures. It will determine typically the reproductive structures.
So
That's
you're
the
telling
SRY gene.
me. So you're telling me there are men born with vaginas.
Yes. Trans men. Most of them are born with vaginas.
Okay. I feel like.
Now, if you're going to ask me,
I'm
are there
44 years
males?
old.
Are there males with vaginas?
Right.
It would
I'm
depend on how you're
44 years
classifying
old,
a male.
right? And I feel like I'm living in a reality. And instead of men wanting to face reality, which is Women are born with vaginas and men are born with penises. It is what it is.
Jacqueline, are
That
all
is what it
women
is.
born with
If you would
vaginas?
like to,
Jacqueline,
I'm
Jacqueline,
sorry, go ahead.
are all women born with vaginas?
Unless they are intersex or there's something else going on there, then they still are born with genes for a woman. And you find out
What
later on, like,
genes? What
oh,
genes
that
are
person was
those?
identified wrongly.
What genes are those?
I'm sorry?
What genes are those?
Well, what does the Y gene? What does the Y gene tell us? If somebody has a Y and their chromosome are XXY, what does that mean?
Well, the X or Y chromosome would just be two of the sex chromosomes. The Y chromosome is the typical chromosome the S or Y gene can express itself on, unless it expresses
For
itself on the
what?
second
For
X
what? Which
gene, which can
identifies
also
a
happen.
what? Which identifies a what?
So it's not about identifying, it's just that would then determine the pathway of sexual reproduction.
Okay, so
A male typical gonad structure comes from the activation of the SRY gene.
Ah. So you're telling me that in a universe full of math, with everything is mathematical, where things happen identically, and there are things that are out of line with that, but in a world where math creates everything, there are going to be oopsie doopsies? It makes no sense. There is a man and there's a woman, and that's the way.
There is
Not
no
that.
oopsie
No, no.
doopsie in biology, Jacqueline, because biology doesn't make ought claims. Biology doesn't do that. Biology doesn't say this is the way things have to develop. Biology is always in
No,
flux.
it doesn't say that that's the way things have to develop. Absolutely not. When we
Correct.
look at biology, we're able to identify whether it's a female or a male. There's other things we can look at and say, oh, this starfish is actually working like a woman or a man, or like a female or a male. But we are able to identify through biology whether your cow is going to produce or not produce in this way or that way.
So
And that determines what's going to be a mother or a father.
Jacqueline, I've actually studied this
Yes.
when it comes to biology. Okay? Biology, the way we determine sex in biology is through what we call cluster categorization or familial categorization. It's not about hey, you have this one thing and that makes you male or female. It's hey, here's an amalgamation of a bunch of things, and where on a distribution chart do you fall on that? Okay? However, what you're telling me is that trans women cannot be women because they are not female. So what must they have in order to be female? What must they possess?
What I am telling you is that a male born in America in 2026 under a patriarchy cannot then grow up and say, actually, I feel like a gal. That's just not something you can do, because it's not something you can do. Number one, as a boy raised in our society, you don't know what it's like to be a female or to be a woman. You have no idea. And if gender is a social construct, then you are literally brainwashed into a male point of view. You cannot understand what it is to be a woman.
Jacqueline, here's my issue here.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
Here's my issue here. You're not engaging in the actual conversation, right? Like, the conversation I'm trying to have with you is to talk about the way we categorize gender and whether or not your way that you're categorizing it holds up under scrutiny. Next, you're going to, well, they don't, trans girls can never understand what cis girls go through, so they can't be girls. When trans women face misogyny, trans women face sexual violence, almost everything that cisgender women go through, a transgender woman would go through as well.
I would never say that.
I know that you wouldn't, but that doesn't make it true.
I would appreciate if you wouldn't put words in my mouth.
I would never put words in your mouth. You
said the next thing I'm going to say. I would never say that. What I'm saying is
Do trans? Let me,
We
Jacqueline.
are
Do
able
trans
to.
women? What is the
What I'm
thing
no,
that
no. Let me speak
cisgender
because
women?
you
No,
want to debate,
Jacqueline.
but you want to
Jacqueline,
debate by
you have done
your words.
Jacqueline, you have
You're
done
a
the majority of
person who
speaking in
said
this
that you no,
conversation.
no, 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 no,
Jacqueline, you
no.
have done the majority
You're
of
a
speaking in this
person who said
conversation.
no. Let me get my words out because what I've
Jacqueline,
heard you do, I've been listening
Jacqueline,
to you over an hour,
you
and
clearly
what I've
haven't.
heard you do is you try to make people who are giving their honest
Okay.
opinion seem dumb because you want to focus on
Okay.
science. You don't want to talk about the actual social construct of it, but you want to speak about gender.
Jacqueline, I
If
just
you want to
tried
talk
to
about
engage
sex,
with you on the
then let's
social
speak about
construct.
biology.
Jacqueline, I just tried to engage with you on the social construct, and you
Sure.
completely pivoted away. You didn't acknowledge it at all.
No, go for it. You say what you, but if you're going to talk about social constructs and gender, then you can't argue with me about sex, about male and female, right?
Jacqueline,
But go for it.
Jacqueline, if gender are socially created constructs, then what is barring a trans woman from fitting into the category of woman?
Because it's not a woman.
Jacqueline,
Just
that's
like
a
I couldn't
non-answer.
fit in as a
That's a
man.
non-answer.
I'm not a man.
That's the question I didn't ask you was, are they? I said, what's barring them from fitting under that classification? This is why I said you're not engaging.
Experience.
What experience must they have in order to be a woman?
I don't think they have to have any experience. I think that if you're a trans man, well, I'm sorry, if you're a trans woman, I'm sorry, hold on one second, because I hear you in the background and I can't, hello?
Hello what? I'm not saying anything.
No, I'm sorry. Hold on one second. Sorry, my YouTube was blasting over what I was actually saying. What I was saying was, if you are someone who considers yourself a trans woman, you would have to have information to consider yourself as such. I mean, to me, it seems if you just decide one day, like, oh, I feel like I was born in the wrong body. I feel like I should be a woman.
Jacqueline, you're not
Is that all that there needs to be?
You're not engaging in what
order
I'm
for you to be
asking
considered
you.
a woman.
I'm asking you,
Go for it.
what is barring them from fitting in the category? You told me, well, it's experience. And when I asked you what experience they are supposed to have, you said, well, it's not about having an experience. Then why did you say experience when I asked the question?
It is about, it is experience. It's experience as a woman.
So
it's experience going through life being, if gender is a social
are
construct,
those experiences?
and you're
What is
socialized
the
as a
thing?
woman.
What is the thing that women experience that trans women don't?
It's all of the things.
Such as
being a woman in let me answer. Please don't interrupt me. It's being a girl child in a family. It's being a girl child under a mother. It's being a girl child under a father. It's going to school as a girl child. It's having different biological things that affects your brain and your body.
Stop with the biology
because
you said you don't want to talk about the biology. You only want to talk about the social categories. So I don't know why we're going back to biology.
No. Biology is going the way what I am going through biologically is going to affect my social world, my social experience.
Not in the way you're describing it. Not in the way you're describing it at all. Jacqueline, if I have a trans child, Jacqueline, listen to me, please. Jacqueline.
If I at 10 years old started a period and I had to start living in that reality, that affects me.
So if I have a woman who's never had a period, is she not?
And I don't have
if I have a woman who's never had a period, does she not count?
My experience.
If I had a woman who's never had a period, does she not count as a woman?
No. See, you didn't listen to me. You were so busy talking over me. You didn't listen.
Jacqueline, please stop. Jacqueline, please stop. This is so ridiculous. And you're not engaging in the actual points that are being made.
You just don't want to hear what I'm saying.
Jacqueline, you're not engaging in the actual points that are being made, Jacqueline. You're not engaging in the actual points that are being made.
It's not a very powerful argument to say something is ridiculous. You can hear that person out and say, I disagree with that.
I've given you the why. So I don't want to hear this like me saying you're ridiculous in the power. I've given you the why it's ridiculous. Jacqueline, you can't say...
Why is it ridiculous to say that a person who is a young girl who at 10 years old
I would
expects
tell you, you're not
through
going to
the
listen, so
social
what does it
construct,
matter?
through her education, to have a
You're
period,
not
and maybe
listening, so what
does
does it
or maybe
matter?
doesn't. Why does it affect her social construct? Why does
You're
it affect her
straight up
social
not
life?
listening. You're straight up not listening. So like,
It doesn't affect them?
you're just not in the way you're claiming
And
it
you as
does.
a
No.
man can tell me that it doesn't
Yes.
affect them when I as a woman have lived that life?
Yes, I can tell
What are
you
we talking
that
about?
I can tell you that when it comes to our experiences as people, that does not create category distinctions. So what we experience is different. No
That's
two
why
women.
you as a
Oh no,
man,
no, it's cool,
scientific
Jacqueline.
or
No, my bad.
otherwise,
I didn't
cannot
mean
determine what it
I
is to be a
didn't mean to
woman because
interrupt you
you've never
interrupting
had that
me, Jacqueline.
experience.
My bad. My
You
bad
have been
interrupting you while you
interrupting
were
me.
interrupting me. My bad, Jacqueline.
Mm.
Goddamn. Sorry. Didn't know that you were talking just then. My bad. I should have known to just stop in the middle of my sentence to let you continue.
If you like to, that's fine by me.
No, go ahead. What you have to say is so important, Jacqueline. Go ahead.
No problem. You as a man
Shut
cannot
up.
tell me that.
The fuck out of here. Bro, if you're not going to engage, fucking goodbye. God damn, dude. I have no problem if you're going to like interrupt me to say something of substance. But like, if I'm in the middle of explaining my position and you're not even going to listen to it, goodbye. Fuck out of here, dude. Like, I asked her how many times. You guys, the timer was even up. I even had the timer up. She had spoken more than I had in this phone call. Like, if you won't let me finish a point, please go somewhere else. God damn. What I was going to say, and I'll say it here now because I'm not getting interrupted, experiences are not a monolith, right? And claiming that we determine these social categories based on experiences is just poisoning the well in a way that's saying, well, if I have someone who doesn't experience this, are they still in that category? The answer would have to be no. If you're going to be logically consistent. I doubt she was going to be logically consistent. It's very rare that TERFs are. So annoying, dude. Another person who just wanted a soapbox. No, that's what it is. They want a soapbox. They just want to preach. She didn't call in to have a conversation. She doesn't even know my position because I was never able to say it. And she ignored what I started with, which is, this is why I fundamentally believe this. Why do you disagree with this fundamental belief? And she just moved on to something else. Anyway, next call. Oh, birthdays. Let me not forget the birthdays. Hold on. We got some birthday shout outs. Let me do them real quick. My bad that I forgot to do them.
You could be a birthday.
That one's for Yoshi.
A very happy baddie birthday.
Before I forget. And then we got one for Pythia.
You could be a birthday baddie too. A very happy baddie birthday to you.
Gang, gang. Happy birthday, friends. All right. Let's bring up the next person. I'm fucking so fucking annoyed today with these fucks. Coming up next is Noah. Noah calling in about topic number 3, the Christian God being evil. Noah, if you can hear me, please provide me with your age and pronouns.
Hi there. My name is Noah. I'm he, him. I am with my parents right now. I'm 16, but hello, I'm Noah's dad, Tim Elliott.
I'm his mom. He has permission.
Okay, yeah, no, I know you've called the line before. I know you've spoken to Jimmy before, so totally fine. You got now, just so you guys are aware, you are aware, this is currently being live streamed. Noah is live in front of like 1,000 people, and the video will be posted after the fact, where a couple more thousand people will end up watching it, just so that you guys are.
Yep.
All right.
Good with that.
Cool. Okay, Noah, calling in to talk about topic number 3, the Christian God being evil. Since your parents are there, I will try to be less explicit than I usually am. I tend to be a bit more explicit.
Oh, you're all good.
But I'll try to watch myself. But Noah, basically, I believe the Christian God is evil because he does things in the Bible we'd call evil if any human did them. Do you disagree? And if so, why?
Yeah, so first, what are the evil things that you believe the Christian God did?
Sure. He's done genocide, quite a few of them, or commanded them. He has allowed for slavery. He has commanded rape in a few instances. And he, I would also just say, like, causing unnecessary suffering of all beings was also, like, a pretty evil action.
Okay. So why are those things evil?
Yep, because I believe that they cause unnecessary suffering of innocent beings. So if they like, and suffering on like an immense level, you know.
Okay, so why is like suffering at an immense level like objectively evil?
Yeah, well, the way I define evil is just the unjustified causing or permitting of severe harm to innocent beings, especially when one has the power to prevent it. So because I know what it's like to experience harm, whether that be through pain or emotional suffering, whatever one it wants to be, I can sort of extrapolate how other beings would experience said harm. And because of this, I know that it's a negative experience when I experience it. Therefore, it would be negative for them. So if I had the power to prevent them from experiencing that, that would be a good thing to do. And if I had the power to cause them more, that would be a bad thing to do. So it would just be some level of, empathetic reasoning.
So slavery is wrong because you wouldn't want to be a slave and you have the ability to stop them from being a slave. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, slavery, I mean, that's part of it. Yeah, part of slavery would be wrong is because, like, you know, I recognize that I would not like to be a slave. I know that, like, being a slave removes some semblance of, like, rights that I would have to my own body, and that would be wrong to do.
So what makes like slavery wrong then if there is no God? Because are you an atheist?
Yes, I'm an atheist. The reason I just said. So it would depend on
if
what
everything's matter and energy.
Yeah. It would just depend on what level of moral principle you're standing on, like whether you're an emotivist, an objectivist, a secular humanist, whatever you're basing your position on. We just don't believe that the position would be because God says so, right? So if I say I'm taking it from like a secular humanist perspective, it's that that position is that any harm done to humans is inherently wrong, because when humans are living prosperous lives, the species flourishes. That's like the really emotivists believe that like negative emotions are what's tied to morality. Then there, like, I could believe that I could take many a principle, but all of them would end up being some subjective standpoint, just like Christian morality would be.
So there's no objective reason for why what the Christian God did was evil.
I mean, no, but that's because objective morality just can't exist, period, even under a Christian worldview. So no, like there wouldn't be.
Why can't it exist under a Christian worldview?
Because objective morality means that morality is mind independent. It exists outside of any mind. And even under Christianity, the morality would come from God's mind, so it would still be subjective. It's subjective to the mind of God. This is why God changes his mind about what is and is not moral throughout the Bible, because it's it's just on whatever whim he feels in the moment.
Okay. So you believe that the Christian God is evil because he did things like genocide and slavery, but those things are only subjectively wrong to you, correct?
Yes. Well, they're objectively wrong. They're objectively wrong in my worldview, but my worldview is subjective. So, like, objectively, in secular humanism, it is wrong to hold a slave, but secular humanism is mind dependent, like all worldviews would be. Therefore, the worldview is subjective.
So the Christian God's subjective, the subjective view coming from the Bible is equally correct as yours then, because if all morals are subjective, there is no higher morals than another set of morals.
I would
All
argue that
morals are
God goes
equal
against his own moral standings. So, like, for instance, if I was like, well, I'm a secular humanist, I believe it's always wrong to harm humans, and then I go stab a bunch of people, I would be breaking my own moral standard. So if God says, hey, I think it's wrong to unjustly kill somebody, which would be murder, which he is a part of the commandments, and then he does that, I would say he's breaking the rules of his own morality system.
So who are those commandments for, and is he really unjustly murdering those people?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely unjust. We can boil it down deeper if you want to, but like you can make the claim.
Well, what does God say?
Sure, go ahead.
What did God say the wages of sin are?
You tell me.
He said the wages of sin are death, and he also said all humans have committed sin. So if he's going to be accurate and he's going to follow the laws that he's put forth, he has to kill humans. Because we've committed sin, we have to die.
Sure,
so you can use different modes, such as the
I don't think
Israelites,
that holds,
to
right?
use justice.
Because we have to look at a few things here. So one would be, why does he want to punish us, right? So why do we have sin to begin with, right? We only have sin because of him, because he created a world in which sin can exist, right? Had he not created a world in which sin could exist, we wouldn't be sinners. We wouldn't have sin etched on our
So if he didn't
hearts.
create a world where he has to create a world where we have creativity and free will. And since we have finite minds, we don't have the ability to know all information at once. Therefore, we can't tell whether or not something is a good action or a bad action, which is why we brought sin into the world.
Yeah, the claim would then be that Adam and Eve didn't have free will. They were just influenced by whatever being spoke to them last, right? If sin is required for free will and sin didn't exist yet in the world,
sin is not required for free will.
Okay, so then
sin is a result of free will.
So then sin isn't necessary for us to engage in creativity. Like, see, he didn't need to put sin into the world. He could have we could have existed in a world where we have creativity, where we have free will, we have all this, and there is no sin.
God created finite humans who don't have omniscience, which means we don't know all knowledge at once. So because of that, we aren't able to know whether or not an action is actually a good action. And because of that, we violated God's perfect holiness.
Why could God not?
Because we had free will to make decisions.
If God is our creator, why could he not give us an organ that does that? He couldn't have given us like an organ that just like knows good and bad, that knows right and wrong.
He gave us our brain, which knows right from wrong. So Romans says that we all have the law written on our heart. So we know what the moral code is. But because we have free will, we chose to break it because we thought we knew better than God. Since we didn't have infinite knowledge,
but that's what I'm
morals
saying.
Are perfect.
Why didn't God just not create the sin? Right? Sin only exists because God created sin as something we could do. Why didn't he just not do that?
So what do you think sin is?
Well, sin would be going against God specifically if we're looking at like the Christian worldview. I would
so
say
God gave
even
the
different
humans
than
the ability to go against him.
Yeah, why?
Because a loving God wants you to love him back, right? He seeks a relationship out. And if you don't want to be with God, he's not going to force you to be with him. So you can choose to go against him because, again, the loving thing to do would be to let you have your free will and choose whether or not you want to be with God in a relationship or not. If you want to disobey him, you can do that.
But so we just have free will until
human has done.
We just have free will until we die, and then he takes it away from us when we go to heaven.
No. So
yes.
everyone is an enemy of God. Paul writes that everyone is a child of wrath. We're all enemies of God. So because of that, we all deserve hell, which is separation from God. It's infinite separation
Yes,
from
but,
an eternally perfect God.
heaven is not. Right? Heaven is
Heaven
supposed
is
to be,
being
heaven is in the way that Jesus describes it.
heaven is reunion with God.
Yes. We don't have free will in heaven, right?
So God sends the Holy Spirit. No, we have free will because God sends the Holy Spirit to help us believe in him and to help us not be children of wrath anymore,
when
but
we're
be
in
children of
heaven,
God.
when we're in heaven, do we have that free will?
Yes, but we're not going to use it to break him because we've been restored and we're in the presence of God. There is no Satan to tempt us.
Wait, so then it's not about our free will, it's about temptation?
So temptation causes you to use your free will to commit an action that could be sinful.
Okay, when we die, when we go to heaven, is it possible to commit sins in heaven?
No.
So there is no free will in heaven. It's physically impossible for us to do something sinful. So that free will is gone.
It's because we're reflecting and we're worshiping Christ and we're worshiping God. So there is no chance for sin because you're not going to disobey an infinite God.
Wait, so it is possible for us to exist in a world in which we have free will, but we don't, but it's impossible to sin.
Yes.
Why would that not just be our world now?
Because Satan was present in that world.
Why was Satan present in that world?
We do not know.
I know. It's because God created Satan. Had God not created Satan, he would not be present in that world.
Satan had free will.
But, okay, do you believe God has the omni properties? Do you believe God to be an omniscient, omnipresent, omnipowerful being?
Yes.
So God knew when he created Satan that Satan would turn from him, would inject sin into the world, and would cause his favorite creations, humans, to suffer. But he still made him anyway. God knew this thousands of years. So the only reason sin exists is because Satan exists, and the only reason Satan exists is because God exists. But God, as the all-powerful being, could have said, well, I'm not going to create Satan because Satan will hurt my people. He will hurt the people that I'm creating and that I love. If I knew that, like, let's say I have a child, and I knew that I was bringing in a dog into my house that's bitten every child it's ever seen ever. And I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that dog would bite my new child. And I bring that dog into the house, I'm at fault for my child getting bit. So God is at fault for us sinning and our suffering from said sinning.
So I would say that we're the ones that committed the sin. Satan led us to commit the sin, but we're the ones that ended up committing the sin.
Yes, because we were tempted by Satan before we knew what good and evil even was. You got to remember, Adam and Eve didn't have the knowledge of good and evil because that was in the fruit.
No.
Now they didn't even get a chance to eat the second fruit, which was the fruit of immortality, but they did eat the first fruit, which was of all the knowledge of good and evil. They didn't know that Satan telling them this was an evil action. They didn't know that going against God was evil. They had no concept of evil.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't. They didn't have the knowledge of good and evil.
Yes, God. So again, this goes back to what I said about how the law is written on our hearts. So we're created with knowledge of the law. So that's why we all have an inherent knowledge of things that are objectively wrong because the law is written on our heart. Some of us choose to reject this. So Adam and Eve knew that they were supposed to follow God's commandments, and they chose to break this commandment by listening to Satan.
They didn't. Genesis 3:22, God specifically says after they eat the fruit that man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil, which implies that they didn't know what good and evil was prior to eating the fruit. So there was no instilling on our hearts prior to Adam and Eve eating the fruit. They had to have eaten the fruit first. They had no clue. In their minds, they're like a 1-year-old when it comes to morality decisions. They have no idea. They're just doing what the most recent authority figure told them. And here comes the snake who's telling them, God lied to you, which he does. He says, when they eat the fruit, on the day they eat it, they will die. They don't. They die 900 years later. He says, God lied to you. You can actually eat from this tree and you won't die, which is also partly true because the snake also wanted them to eat from the tree of immortality, but they didn't get a chance to do that. They eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God gets mad and says, now they know good and evil. Now they know the thing I didn't want them to know. So if evil is acting against God and going against God, and them eating the fruit goes against God, they did not know that was an evil action. They had no clue. And God then punishes them and their kin for all of eternity. That's not love. Love would be, hey, let me sit you down and explain you why what you did was wrong. And let you
But is God just?
work. Is God just? I would say the God of the Christian Bible is not just, no.
Is justice giving each their due? Are we going to use like a philosopher definition for just for this?
I mean, what definition of justice do you want to use? I mean, I would just say justice is like, we can say giving a person their due if you want to, but like, what is like, that's very broad. What do we mean by giving their due? Should something just be, should the scales of justice be weighed the same? Should the action of, for instance, making fun of someone for being bald be met with being mauled by a bear? I would say no. But God would say yes. I would say one of these punishments severely outweighs the crime.
Yeah, so I'd say you're trying to like take just and try and apply it to super weird niche categories. We can say that if you commit murder, your punishment could be jail, right? Giving each person what they deserve. And so God says, if you commit a sin, your punishment is death. But God is also loving. God loves you, but he has to be just. So he loves you, but you've committed sin, so he has to punish you with death and separation from him, which is why he sent his son to die for us.
How is death a good... Well, he sent his son to be a blood sacrifice when he didn't have to, right? God could have forgiven us by just forgiving us, right? Jesus was a blood sacrifice because God likes blood sacrifice.
He can't just forgive us.
He can't?
So
He's all powerful.
If
He
I
can do
murder
anything.
someone,
God is all powerful.
If I murder someone, God is also logical too, and God is going to follow his.
There is nothing illogical about forgiving somebody without.
He will not break these.
Noah, there's nothing illogical about forgiving someone without that person doing anything to earn said forgiveness. There's nothing illogical about forgiving someone without a blood sacrifice, right?
Okay, so if I murder someone and the judge lets me walk out of the courtroom without any punishment, is that just? Is he?
Well, now we're talking about two different things. We're talking about punishment and forgiveness, right? That's two different things, right? Forgiveness.
The judge is forgiving me and voiding me of all punishment.
Well, the judge is not the person. The judge is not the person you did the crime to. You could still go to jail for a crime, and the person you committed the crime to can forgive you for that crime, right? Forgiveness is different. We're saying the reason why God sent Jesus was to forgive us of our sins, but he has the ability to forgive us of those sins without the blood sacrifice. He didn't need to sacrifice his son to do that. Unless you're saying there's a limit to what God can do, and therefore you're saying he's not all powerful. There are limitations to his power.
God's logical, so he's not going to make a triangle a square, because that's not how that works. Since he is logic,
nothing I've said there is illogical unless you can actually substantiate how what I'm saying is illogical. Just saying it's illogical isn't substantiating it.
Anyways, back to the justice argument. God is just, so he has
hold
to
on. This is actually a part of the justice argument, Noah. This is a part of the justice argument. If we're saying that God is just, then square the circle of God sending his own son to die a horrific death when all God had to do was snap his fingers and be like, humans are forgiven.
Yeah, so you're not listening to the point I'm making. What I'm saying is that God is just, which means he has to uphold the punishments for the crimes. The punishment for the crime, the punishment for sin is death. All right? So remember, God's infinitely just, so he has to uphold his infinite justice against humans. But if God is infinite loving, he has to find some way to help these humans, to help us redeem ourselves. So he sends his son, who takes the punishment for us. So it's like someone else serving the crime for a murder for us because he loves us, but he's also serving justice.
So again, God could have just not done that. You're saying God, when God makes a commandment, he locks himself into this for all of eternity. Again, proving to me that God is not all powerful.
No,
He actually is.
He doesn't lock himself into the. So God is just. Justice
Yes,
flows from God.
Okay,
Just
no,
like
what I'm
love.
trying to,
God is
what I'm
love,
trying
and
to,
love flows from God.
no, what I'm trying to, well, okay, what I'm trying to show you here, right, is that if you're telling me the reason we have sin on our hearts and the reason we engage in sin is because we broke a rule that God placed upon us, and so we're experiencing a punishment that God placed upon us, God can wipe that punishment away whenever he feels like for nothing. If God is supposed to be love,
No.
Yes, he can.
No, because so he didn't create these laws. These laws
Yes,
flow
he
from
did.
his essence.
He
These laws
did
were not
create
made by him. These are eternal laws.
They were
that
made by
come
him.
with God. Like
No, they were absolutely made by him, right? He tells Adam and Eve, don't eat from the fruit of the tree. He says, if you eat from the fruit of this tree, I'm now going to create punishments that you are like, he does them right after they eat from him. Part of punishment for women, for Eve leading Adam astray, is the painful childbirth. He explicitly creates these punishments.
these punishments are a result of our sin. So it's proper punishment, it's proper justice for him to punish the sin we've done.
Yes, but again, he created the punishment. He could unpunish us if he wanted to very easily, but he didn't. He wanted there to be a blood sacrifice, the blood sacrifice of his own child, which was not needed if all he had to do was snap his fingers and go, you're no longer punished.
So if God did that, if he snapped his fingers so we were no longer punished, what would stop us from committing atrocities? What would stop Hitler from doing World War II?
Nothing stopped.
Mass
Jesus
genocide?
didn't stop Hitler from committing World War II. So probably nothing would be much different than it is now, right? It's not like Jesus dying stopped any of that. God could have made himself known to every. God could have made himself known to everybody. Hitler could take that punishment. Hitler should take that punishment. What do you mean?
But if God's loving, why would he let Hitler take that punishment?
What? What are you asking
God's
me?
loving, so he wants
I
to be
love my
reunited.
kid, but if my
So
kid does
when
wrong, she's
Hitler-
still going to go into timeout. What do you mean?
So when Hitler commits a crime, right, he committed genocide, he has to serve the punishment. But God loves Hitler, right? God loves everyone. So God wants to be with Hitler, but he can't be because Hitler has committed a sin which violates God's properties in his essence.
Yes, God
so
can
God
still
has to send someone
punish.
who can
Wait.
fulfill
God
the law
can still
and can take the punishment for
God
Hitler.
can still punish, but the punishment can't outweigh the crime. Right? It's totally unfair for God to kill a bunch of babies because their parents did sin or because they have sin born and etched on their hearts. That punishment does not outweigh the crime. I'm sorry, that punishment does outweigh the crime. That's a completely unreasonable punishment.
No, because the punishment for sin is death. That's God giving proper punishment. That's proper justice that he's carrying out.
Proper justice is killing babies?
Yes, because they've committed a sin against God.
What
They've
sin did
sinned,
the
and the
babies
wages
commit?
for sin is death.
What sin did the babies commit?
You said you're an atheist, right? There's
What
nothing
sin did
wrong with killing babies
Wait,
if you're
I'm
an
sorry.
atheist.
Noah,
so
you
we
know
have to
that's
realize
Noah,
that under the framework of God.
Noah, right now what you're doing is you are trying to get your way out of this path you're walking yourself down when I've already told you that I could subscribe to any atheistic worldview, right, and multiple moral codes that would say it's wrong to kill babies. And I've explained to you where they get those moral views. So I don't want to go, yours is also subjectively because God is a mind. So I don't want to go back to this. It's just to get away from it. My question to you is, what sin did the baby, when God drowned every baby in the world, what sin did those babies commit that they deserve death?
They had no fear of God.
They're babies. How could they have fear of God? God didn't. God literally created babies to not be able to have a fear of God. Why didn't he just make it so babies could have a fear of God.
Where
So he's going to
where are you
punish
getting that from?
because they're babies. They
Where
can't
does
have
it
a
say
fear of
God
anything.
created babies not to have a fear of God?
God created all humans, right?
Yes,
You
and
and
he
I
gave us
both
free will, and
know.
we use that free
You and
will
I
to
both
choose not to
know
be scared of
how.
him.
Wait, babies are using their free will to not be scared of God. That's what you're
Yes,
telling
that's
me?
what sin is. It's called original sin.
You're telling me babies, a 4-week-old baby, you think a 4-week-old baby has the ability to be afraid of God and chooses not to?
The law is written on their hearts. They're aware of the law.
Noah,
They choose not to be scared of God.
Noah, this is anti-scientific at this point. Babies don't have this capacity. They don't have the brain power to do what you're claiming they should be able to do. They don't. They're babies. A baby, a newborn, physically doesn't even know what fear is. They're newborns.
Babies are aware of many things. They're aware of things like love. They're able to love their mothers. They're able to lead things.
No,
These
babies are not able to love their mothers until a certain age. They have a psychological need, or not even a psychological need. They have like a biological need for survival, but they don't love until a certain age because they don't have the mental capacity for love.
But that still doesn't diminish the fact that they have the law written on their hearts. Their soul, they have a soul that is aware of the law. This is the reason that Christians are against murder, because even though the fetus's mind may not be, or against abortion, because even though the fetus's mind may not be fully developed, they have a soul that is there, that knows the law of God.
Noah, you're telling me that it is a just thing that God killed babies because those babies chose not to love him.
They were born without a fear of God.
All babies are born without fear because they're babies. If the claim is that they should be born with a fear,
No, a fear. It's a fear of God. God is different than being scared of the monster in
what
your
do you
closet.
what do you think a fear of? What does a fear of God mean to you?
So when you're scared of God, you're not going to commit sin because you're not going to commit something that would violate God. So if you're scared of God, you're scared of the punishment that would entail
They
committing
don't
sin.
have the ability to feel those things. They're babies.
So I already talked about this. They have a soul. They have a soul that is aware of the law. It's written on their hearts.
Prove they have a soul.
You can't prove the unseen. It's an invisible thing like gravity.
No,
but you can see the effects of it. You can see the evidence.
Trying here, bro. Come on. Are your parents still in the room?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do they agree? Do you guys agree that babies should be able to fear God, and because they choose not to fear God, they deserve to die?
That's how they're brought up.
That's how they're brought. Wait, what do you mean that's how they're brought up?
Okay.
I'm talking
If a
fresh
baby
out the womb. Fresh
born
out the
into
womb.
a household that is not going to be, if a baby's born into a household that's not fearing God, how is that baby going to learn to fear God if that baby is not exposed to that fear at all?
Wait, but fresh out the womb, like a 1 minute old baby, is that baby choosing to ignore God?
Yes, it's within a sinful presence of other people who aren't scared of God, and it's born with the law in its heart.
Wait,
but it's
so now
broken
it's
this
being
law
punished
as
because
the
it's in the
original sin.
presence of people that are doing it?
Following the if he's raised in a household argument, but I wouldn't say it's like that deep. There's no way to quantify this idea of babies being scared of something. Babies are born with a soul. Babies have a soul, and that soul is aware of what the law is.
Let me
and that
ask you a
soul
question,
should be
Noah.
able to fear God.
Let me ask you a question. Do you agree that drowning is a painful way to die?
Yes.
Do you agree that people that drown suffer? Like, it is a torturous way to go. It is an immensely suffering way to die.
Yes.
Do you agree that babies should experience this?
I believe that babies should be served the same justice that everyone else should be served because we've committed sins that violate the nature of God.
Okay. Do you agree that
And there's
God
nothing wrong
has
with killing these babies
commanded?
if there is no God.
Hold on. Do you agree that God has commanded man in multiple instances of the Bible to kill these sinful babies?
Yes, he's using humans as a means of delivering justice.
Okay, so we know that God as a being has in the past used humans to deliver his justice. So Noah, if God said to you,
Pre-Christ.
if God pre-Christ, what if he changes his mind, right? What if again
He's
he
not.
gets mad? Well, you don't
God
know that.
doesn't change.
Whoa,
No,
whoa,
you
hold
have,
on,
no, this
hold
is a
on.
logical
Wait,
argument.
wait.
If you know all things,
You can't
nope, you
say
can't make that
Noah.
claim and not let me
Noah,
disprove it.
Noah. You can't say God never changes and then point out how different God is post Christ to how what he was pre Christ.
No, it's because Jesus had died then, so the punishment had been fulfilled.
Yes, but he still hasn't changed. He's now
That's
merciful.
not God. That's God not changing his mind. That's Jesus fulfilling our punishment, which
He's
means God no longer
absolutely
needs to deliver
changed.
it.
If God pre-Jesus was consistently commanding humans to slaughter other humans, to dole out his different punishments, now you're saying, well, he doesn't do that now because all of our punishments were taken by Christ. That's still him changing. He is still changed.
God's punishment was put to Christ. No, God was punishing people in the Old Testament, and he was punishing us now, and he put that punishment onto Christ.
So he is still changed, Noah. That's still changing.
If you want to call it that, but he's been delivering punishment. He's been delivering the proper punishment of death ever
He
since
acts
sin
now
was
in a
committed
different
against
way
him.
than he used to. That's change.
To us it is. God's
What else
outside
would
of
you call
time,
that?
so he's not going to change. God's delivering justice, he's delivering death, and he's sending people, he's separating them from him.
Okay, so then he could
during the Old
still
Testament, and then Jesus
theoretically
dies,
hit
and
you
he
up
punishes.
and command you to dole out justice for him. He exists
So
out of time. There's nothing
God's
saying
not
he
going to command me to kill someone.
are you saying that you know God's nature?
From what the Bible has shown us about God's nature, Christ has taken the punishment, he's taken the justice
I'm
from
not
the Old
asking what the
Testament,
Bible has shown
and
us.
he's
No, I'm saying,
taken
are
it
you telling me
for
here
us.
right now you know for a fact what God does or does not want to do?
Yeah, God's not going to lie to us. He's not going to do these things that break the proper moral boundaries that he has that flow from him.
Commanding
So God's not going to
you
become
to
evil.
dole
I
out
can tell you that with
wait,
a
wait,
fact.
wait. I'm not asking about that. Commanding you to slaughter people would not be different than what he has done in the past. If he says, Noah, there's this group of people that have turned against me and they are leading other groups of mine astray, I want you to go and kill all of them that breathe. That's no different than what he had Moses do to the Mennonites. It's the exact same thing, actually.
So what is he doing in that scenario?
He's
What
sending
is
Moses.
He's delivering justice, right?
Well, that's what your claim is. He's sending Moses.
That's the Bible's claim.
So, again, this is
we're
what I'm
debating
asking
over
you.
a biblical topic, so we have to look at it from the biblical lens. In that scenario, he's delivering justice, right? Christ comes, Christ dies, Christ receives proper justice that we should have received for us. So God is still delivering justice. He's not changing. The mode of justice may look different, but we're still all going to die. We're still suffering this death. We're still suffering the effects of sin because God delivered justice in the Old Testament and he delivered justice in the New Testament. And he's delivering justice now because he punished Christ for what we've done against him.
So if what if God decided Christ is not enough? I need Noah to go take out this new group of people. Let's call them the new Midianites. Christ is not enough. I need Noah to go take out the new Midianites. Just engage in the hypothetical. If God asked you to slaughter babies for him.
No, that's a stupid hypothetical because
It's
you're
not.
asking God to disobey his proper order. You're trying to use a
Noah, let's say that you wake up tomorrow and your brain is now in the body of somebody who's alive at the same time as Moses. You, Noah, you wake up tomorrow, your brain is now in this body. And Moses says to you, God commanded us to go slaughter all the Midianites. You're going to ride with Moses, right? You're going to go kill all those babies, right?
Because that's pre-Christ.
But you are going to go kill babies with your bare hands.
If that's what God commanded us to do at that time, because Christ hadn't yet taken the punishment, then I'm following what God has told us.
Okay, now keep going. God then has Moses split all the surviving virgin girl children, right? You would then help them.
Yeah, I know the story you're talking about, but you're about to take that out of context.
I'm not taking it
He
out of
took
context.
the virgin children because there was STDs going around at that time, and that culture was one that heavily valued sex.
That's not in the
And
Bible
he was getting
anywhere.
the Israelites.
You're just
That's
making
what scholars believe. That's what most.
That's not what scholars believe.
It was heavily implied.
It
was
wasn't.
implied that those people had STDs that were getting the Israelites.
Then why did they kill the virgin
STDs,
boys?
And the
Why did they
virgins
kill the
aren't gonna
virgin
have
boys?
STDs.
Why did they kill the virgin boys? They didn't have STDs.
Because you can't tell if a boy's a virgin or not. That's not how biology works.
What?
But you can't tell if a woman is a virgin or not.
Wait. Noah. The 3-year-old baby boys, they couldn't tell if they were virgins?
You can't tell if they have an STD or not. There's no way to 100%
You can't tell if the
whether
virgin
or not
girls have an
they
STD or
had-
not. The hymen is a myth, Noah. The hymen can break from a lot of different things. That's just like bare bones biology. The hymen is not a real thing. Your hymen can break through non-sexual acts, and it does all the time. So what would be the
Okay,
reason
but still, what God,
why God,
this is
if we're
what
saying that
God's
it's
doing by
because
separating the virgins.
hold on, Noah,
what he's
if it's
doing by
about
separating
STDs,
the virgins
why
is
did he
separating
kill
the
the
people
virgin
who
boys?
don't have the disease.
Then why kill the virgin boys? They didn't have the disease,
Because
Noah.
there's no way.
Social understanding of biology at the time.
And just how they understood biology at the time.
God wouldn't need.
Israelites
God would
aren't
know
gonna
which
be
ones.
trusting.
Wait. Why are they questioning him? Moses could just say, wait. But Moses got the plan from God. Moses got the plan from God.
Israelites aren't going to know how to distinct. They aren't
But
gonna know how to
God
distinct
would. But
between
God would.
a male virgin and a non-male virgin.
So they can't tell if the 3-month-old
God's
virgin
not-
baby boy is a.
God's not directly there
They
picking the
can't.
people.
Wait.
God's
You're
leaving that
telling
up
me.
to the Israelites
You're
to
telling
follow
me
him.
that the Israelites would stab their knives through the chests of the virgin baby boys, like a 3-year-old baby boy, because they just couldn't tell if he had an STD. The
Yes,
baby?
based off of what they had at that time.
The baby. How's
Their
the baby
understanding
getting the
of-
STD?
So the people at that time were sacrificing babies on burning altars. So
That's
it's not like they had proper.
First of all, there is no actual historical
manners like
evidence
we'd
that the
say they do
Midianites did
nowadays.
that. Fun fact: there's no actual historical evidence the Midianites did that at all. There is historical evidence
Not
that the
them, but it was
Israelites
other
did
groups.
that. But we're not talking about those other groups. We're
groups.
talking about the Midianites.
What I'm talking about is other groups at that time were doing horrific acts.
But we're not. I'm not talking about those other groups. So okay, I'm talking about the Midianites. The Midianites. You're saying the reason why God separated and had Moses separate the virgin girls from the virgin boys is they couldn't tell if the virgin boys had STDs. First of all, they wouldn't be able to tell that from the virgin girls either. If the mother was passing out an STD through birth, they'd have no way of knowing that. That argument makes no sense. The only way that argument can make sense is if we're post hoc adding it to try to justify this decision.
I'll give you that point. But if you keep on reading in that scripture, if you continue reading, God let them spare the virgins because he's being merciful to them. So again,
It's
that group
because
had committed sin.
It's because they
he's
become
serving
child sex
justice,
slaves.
and he spared those virgins.
He splits
in
the
an act of
virgins up.
mercy.
There were 32,000 virgin girls, and specifically, the Bible calls them children. Like, it's not until later editions that they become virgin women. The original translations are children. Like, the original Hebrew translates to virgin child, right? So he takes these virgin, but that's, typical. Typically, virgins are going to be 12, 13 at the time. So anything under that is going to be a virgin. Anything over that is typically going to be a married woman or have already had sex. So God splits up 32,000, has them split up 32,000 virgin girls. Half of them go to the priests. The other go to the men of Israel to do with as they please. And what we know happened to them is the same thing that happened to Israelite girls that were sold into servitude. They become wives or concubines for the Israel men, thus essentially becoming sex slaves because they now don't have a choice of whether or not they can sleep with these men who've taken them as child brides. So God is not only splitting them up, but sending them off into servitude of the sexual nature. And you want me to believe this is a good a good being, when God could have said, let them go. Don't make them become slaves. Treat them kindly. Treat them well. Treat them as you would your own. Well, maybe not treat them as you would your own women, because Israelite girls could also be sold into servitude of that nature.
Yeah, so first off, you're supposed to treat foreigners with respect. So there's that. Secondly, concubines weren't always just sex slaves. Thirdly, the other option from them being taken by Israel is death, as you previously talked about.
I think most of them probably would have rather death than sex servitude. Yeah. I think most women
Just
would probably
clarify,
rather.
concubine at the time doesn't
Yeah.
always mean a sex slave.
Concubines were forced to have sex with their master if their master demanded it. Yes. They could not say no. They were not allowed to say no. They would be punished. Thirdly, Israelite people were able to take people from other countries, take war criminals, take all that, and make them slaves, make them property. So this like treat your neighbor with respect isn't about war prisoners, right? It's about people who willingly and voluntarily come to their countries, not about the people they take as war
That's because
prisoners.
the Israelites are disobeying the law.
The law said that they could do it.
That was
Leviticus,
God. So have you
Leviticus,
read the Gospels before?
Hold on. Leviticus clearly outlines that God tells Moses that they may own slaves. And those slaves may come from the nations around you. From them you may buy slaves. You may also buy some of the foreigners living among you. You may then own them as property and pass them down to your children as inherited property for life. This is God's commandment. This is not the Israelites making up a law. This is one of the rules God gives to Moses on Mount Sinai of things they're able to and allowed to do. The Gospels also none of the Gospels. Yeah, none of the Gospels say don't do slavery.
I know, but have you read them?
I read most of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in the Gospels, one of the Jewish rabbi groups asked Jesus. They said, "Can we divorce our wives? Can we do these things?" And Jesus responds with, "No, even though it's in your law, God permitted that because your hearts were hardened towards him." So God allowed these things because he knew that the humans were so corrupted, the Israelites were so evil, that they wouldn't have followed the laws if God laid it forth with them. So God had to gradually tighten the noose around them, gradually show them the true law. And so that's why we have our full moral law now. We have the complete biblical canon of the law. We know what it is. And so what God's doing is he's tightening the noose on that law.
God has never told us not to own slaves. And in fact, the New Testament actually doubles down on the slave ownership when Paul specifically says slaves obey your earthly masters. And like, in order to be closer to Christ, you must obey your masters, whether
they be kind or cruel. Are you aware of how slavery worked in the Roman Empire?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a lot different than what like racial slavery was in the U.S.
Nope. Slavery,
like politicians,
slavery
for
by
example,
the Israelites.
Hold
on. Whoa. Slavery by the Israelites was property ownership. You were property. You were chattel. Chattel just means property. You were owned as chattel by the Israelites. They could pass you down to your children, to their children, as inherited property. They could also beat you within an inch of your life. This is in Exodus. God literally commands that if a slave owner beats his slave with a rod, that as long as the slave doesn't die in 2 days, that they will not be punished for it because it's their property. So they were being beaten. The women were being forced to commit sexual acts. The slaves were property. They weren't able to escape that property ownership. And as a master could essentially force an indentured servant to be a permanent slave, because if an indentured servant was given a wife by the master, and the indentured servant and that wife had kids, those kids were considered the master's property. And if the husband was now out of his service, out of his 7-year contract, and he wanted to go free, the master was like, well, you can go, but you can't take your wife because she's mine. And you can't take your kids because they're mine. So if you want them, you have to stay in my servitude for life. So yes, the claim that like
things wrong.
Is that a real question?
from your worldview,
We
from
already
your worldview, what makes
Noah,
those
Noah,
things wrong?
Noah.
From an
I'm having
atheist,
a Noah, I'm having a good conversation with you, but we already addressed this at the start of the conversation. There's no reason to rehash it unless you admit to me you weren't listening at the start of
so,
the conversation.
okay,
But again, these things could be objectively wrong in my subjective worldview. It doesn't mean that I don't find them objectively wrong for one reason or another. Where your reason would be because God told me, my reason would be something else, whether it's some form of evolutionary empathy, whether it's some form of deductive reasoning, whatever that may be. Right? We both have reasons why they would be objectively wrong. So there's no reason to go back to this part of the conversation. We already addressed it.
could you re-explain why it was objectively wrong? Because I thought you said it's because you don't want to put suffering onto other people, but there's no value behind why those people shouldn't have suffering.
What do you mean by that question? What do you mean there's no value to why these people shouldn't be suffering? What does that sentence mean?
So if you're an atheist, you believe that somehow nothing created something, and then somehow life came from non-life.
Well, I believe
and
in
that created
abiogenesis, yes.
humans from matter and energy. So we're all just matter and energy. I'm the
So?
same as a tree because we just both evolved from
Well, no,
the
you're
single
different
organism.
from a tree because you're able
So under
to.
that worldview, there's nothing
you're-
that's right or wrong.
That's not my worldview,
because it's
Noah.
all simply matter and
Noah,
energy.
I don't know if it's like you're right now. You're arguing some fictional atheistic worldview, right? All
So I'm
atheists.
asking you to re-explain why your real worldview again.
Yeah. So the worldview is that because we are beings with the capacity to experience, and because I know what negative experiences feel like, I would like to prevent people from experiencing negative experiences, especially if those negative experiences amount to massive amounts of suffering. It is better for humans to not have to suffer. Now, again, whether I'm taking this from an emotivist standpoint, whether I'm taking this from a utilitarian standpoint, that human society just does better and flourishes more when we're all happy and we're not suffering en masse, whether I take this from a secular humanist standpoint, which is just because we're humans, I care about human flourishment, whatever that stance may be, it still can be an objective fact in the worldview that human suffering is wrong.
So why is human suffering wrong?
Because
because you can feel it, or
I just gave you I just
like
told
what?
you. What? I just told you, Noah. I need to know that you're
You said
listening to
we should try to.
Noah.
You said
Noah, I need to know that you're
no. So you said
listening
human
to
suffering is
listen
wrong.
and not listening to respond. Because that's what it feels like.
Would you like me? Could I explain what I heard you say?
You can
and
try
you
to
can
yes, you
correct
can try
me.
to steel man my position, yes.
Okay. So you said that because you can experience negative things and you can experience suffering and you don't like that, that's not a good thing. You wouldn't want that to happen to other humans. You wouldn't want them to experience that suffering or negativity that could happen to you. And so because of that, you're trying to minimize suffering. And that's how you're determining that things like murder is objectively wrong because that would cause suffering.
Correct.
Did I strawman you or did I explain it pretty good?
That you explained it how I explained it, yes.
All right. So under that worldview, where does the human become valuable? Why is that human valuable to stop negative actions from happening? Why are you valuable for your input on why negative actions are bad?
What does it matter what the value is? How does that factor into this equation, please?
So if I say a cow is the equivalent of a human because we both evolved from a single cell organism millions of years ago,
I would say
then,
any sentient being would probably be on equal playing fields when it comes to harm reduction, because all sentient beings can experience harm. Now, if we're going to compare sentient beings to each other, I would say humans, I probably have a more vested interest in human flourishment simply because I'm part of the human species. So when humans flourish, I flourish. But if we're just talking about suffering and harm, it is most likely the case that any being that can experience should not be made to suffer negative experiences unnecessarily, especially when they can be avoided.
So why shouldn't they be made to do that? What's the reason? Because
we've already given
they're
the
just
answer.
it's complex biochemical reactions going on in
We've
their
already
brain.
given the answer
There's no
because
soul.
it
There's
hurts
nothing.
them.
It's just a complex machine.
Because it hurts them. Because they hurt. Because they can their ability to experience is the why. If they were rocks and they couldn't experience anything, then who cares? They have the ability to experience. This is why I would say it's
So is it
worse
fine to
to
kill an
stab
infant?
someone than it is to pull the plug on someone, right? One, like if I pull a plug on a brain dead person, it's probably worse to stab somebody than doing that, because the stabbing of someone, they're going to experience that pain. Pulling the plug on a brain dead person, there's nothing left to experience, so a body is just dying.
So you use the ability to interpret someone's pain as a way to measure if they're valuable or not.
The ability to experience is what would grant you moral consideration in my worldview, yes. If you don't have the ability to experience things, no, you have no moral consideration for me.
So what qualifies as experience? What if Hitler says Jews can't properly experience things like I do, so I can kill them?
I know Hitler would be wrong because I know how the human brain works. So like Hitler can say whatever he wants. That doesn't make him scientifically correct. He also told people that he didn't shit, and we know that wasn't true. Sorry, poop. I said I wasn't going to curse.
No, you're fine. I've debated atheists who cuss me out, so you're very respectful. But anyways, if Hitler, so are you saying like because all human brains work the same, that's how you determine that all fully functioning human brains, obviously like a brain dead person is not going to be the same, but fully functioning human brains are all going to be working the same, which is why Hitler can't say Jews are less equal than whites or something like that.
Well, that's a whole different discussion, but yes, essentially, because the way that our brains work and the way that neurons and brain waves and all of these things work, we have a baseline for sentience, and the ability, sentience is just the ability to experience. So we have a baseline for what that is. We know the parts needed to operate sentience in the brain. We know what will happen if you lose certain parts. We know what parts need to reach certain levels of maturity. So because we know this, we have a general idea of what it takes to experience the world around you, right? In some relevant way to where it links from your sense organs to your brain. If I have a creature that can't
So do other people experience?
I don't know.
Do
what
other
question,
people experience the world differently than us?
That wouldn't matter. It's just the ability to experience, period. Doesn't matter how they're experiencing. It's the ability to experience. So a cow
can experience, but we kill them still.
Yeah, but did you not hear when I said we probably shouldn't? We should probably be vegan, right? Like, it's probably the more moral stance to be vegan.
Okay. So what makes them being able to experience, what makes that idea valuable? Is it because they can like empathize with us, or?
Nope. It's that they can now experience negative things. You've experienced a negative thing before, correct?
Negative?
What's the most painful thing that's ever happened to you?
I don't know. I dropped a rock on my foot, or I stubbed my toe. Let's go with that one.
Okay. Now, if I were to say, Noah, I'm going to make you stub your toe every 5 minutes of every day for the rest of eternity, you probably wouldn't like that, right? You'd be like, this sucks.
Yes.
Yeah. So like now just extrapolate that to any other amount of suffering. It sucks to suffer. You don't like that experience. I don't like that experience. I'm sure your parents don't like suffering either. The chat, none of the people in the chat like to suffer, right? So if we're saying, hey, there's something about this suffering thing. There's something about when you experience something negative that we all don't like, right? Well, then why would I purposely make a creature or being go through that? There's just some level of evolutionary empathy here that I recognize and go, hey, I don't like this, so why would I make them go through this? And then extrapolating off of that, we can oh, sorry, go ahead.
Doesn't evolution teach survival of the fittest? So if I'm a big, strong king in medieval ages, what's wrong with me going around killing people to get more powerful?
That's not what survival of the fittest is. Survival of the fittest is not the strongest person can kill the weakest person. Survival of the fittest is just
That's a result.
No, not even. That's not even a result. Because oftentimes we do see weaker creatures in the species survive over stronger creatures in the species. Survival of the fittest is about adaptability to the environment. So the creatures who in evolution can adapt to their environment better will survive environmental factors. It's not like,
So the king he's better adapted then. He has better weapons, he has better things.
That's not
He's now
you're trying to take an evolution concept and put it into like a non-evolution framework. That's
well,
not
you just tried saying empathy is a result of evolution.
Because it is. The ability to feel empathy is directly tied to our
concept of the stronger
us
stay
evolving.
strong.
That's not the same concept, Noah.
Following this evolutionary thinking, if I'm strong and if I'm more powerful than you,
that's not.
There's
because
nothing
you don't,
wrong with me.
Noah, that's
pushing you down
not
to
what
get ahead.
evolution. That's not what evolution is saying. So yeah, if you want to completely take what evolution is saying and make up something else, sure, I guess it fits. But that is not what strongest or survival of the fittest means. It doesn't mean if I have somebody super strong, they will survive over somebody super weak. It's specifically about gene mutations. And whichever being, whoever's being's genes can mutate to survive and adapt to their environment better will survive, whether that's the biggest creature in an ecosystem with the strongest muscles or whether it's the smallest creatures. You notice dinosaurs aren't still here, but some birds are. The T-Rex ain't here, but alligators still exist. Sharks still swim in the ocean, but the megalodon doesn't. It's not about being the strongest. It's about adaptability to your environment.
So that evolutionary concept of they adapted properly, so they moved on and they survived, that can be applied to humans. The strong humans have power over the weak humans.
That's not
What makes
that's
it
not
wrong for them to hurt
adaptability.
them? They're not going to...
Wait, because the survival of the fittest isn't making a claim about it's okay to hurt another being. Noah, where are you going with this? This has become incoherent, my friend. Survival of the fittest is not saying the strongest or most aggressive should be able to dominate. So when you're saying, well, what if we had put that on people and now the strongest people get to dominate? It's never been making that claim. Ever.
What I'm saying is that a strong person, someone who has power, isn't going to follow your viewpoint of that. We can feel empathy. Like, I can feel empathy. You can feel empathy. I don't like negative thoughts. I don't like negative things. So I'm not going to put those negative things on you. But here's the thing, is that someone who's powerful, someone who wants to get ahead, they're going to say, oh, if I hurt you and I get money, I'm going to do that because I'm trying to get ahead.
Noah, what does that matter? I would say that they're then doing something immoral. There are tons of, what does that matter? If they agree with me or not,
What
it's
I'm getting
not
at
the
is
argument.
that your real point can subjectively explain why it's subjectively wrong to murder someone.
So does yours.
But you can't appeal to an objective reason for why it's wrong.
Neither can you.
I can appeal to God. I can say, because God said it.
Noah.
You can say,
Noah,
I subjectively believe there's an objective reason.
Noah. God is the subject. So his morality is still subjective. It is mind dependent. It relies on a mind, and that mind is God's mind. This is what I'm saying. Like, I don't know why we're back to this. When we say in philosophy that morality is subjective or objective, what we're saying is that it is either mind dependent or mind independent. Oxygen is a mind independent quality of the world we live in. Whether or not we exist and whether or not we have minds or whether or not a mind exists, oxygen will still exist. The value of money is a mind dependent quality. Money only has value because we as a society place the value on it. Get rid of us, money loses all value. Morality is mind dependent. Same with God. Without God, there is no objective moral system. Morality isn't something that's baked into the universe, it's baked into God. Therefore, it is still mind dependent. So every criticism
God's
you
essence,
have, it's still mind dependent. God changes his mind. God has made different rules at different times about what is or is not moral. That's subjective. What was moral when God told the slaves, or God told the Israelites they could own slaves, is not moral anymore. I'm sure you would agree. God says now you can't own slaves. This is a moral code. It doesn't matter why. The why doesn't matter. It is still different. It's still changed. The why means nothing. It's also weird that you're limiting God when most of Leviticus is God making rules for other people. And now all of a sudden you're now limiting, oh, well, God couldn't tell the people of Leviticus or the people of Israel to do this because he couldn't get it to work. So God now bows to what humans can or can't do? No. Same reason he was like, don't eat shellfish, and they listened.
You can continue.
That was the end of that.
Oh, okay. God's not changing. He knows, because he's all-knowing. He knows that we are imperfect beings.
His morality
and he
changed.
knew that the Israelites
his moral code changed.
So he's not.
It doesn't matter if his moral code changed. The moral code changed. It was morally okay to own slaves, and now it is not. The moral code changed. But we are at 60 minutes. I do have to go. We're at 60 minutes on the call.
All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Bye.
All right. That's it for me, everybody. That's it. That's your final. Whew. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. I'll be live tomorrow with Jimmy. Yeah. Gang, Gucci bandana. I'll see y'all tomorrow. It's been fun. It's been real fun. Bye-bye, everybody. Goodbye. See you.